This is a certified hood classic.
C.I.P, and what's up to all my beautiful people from all corners of the world? Welcome to Culture Invasion. We are here to bring you perspective and to challenge you to explore the gifts of culture, knowledge, and entertainment that surround us all. Our perceived world is not an absolute reality. Reality is subjective to only what you choose to explore. What you limit yourself to and experience is your own responsibility. Choose wisely. C.I.P. What's up, everybody? To all my beautiful people from all corners of the world, thank you for joining me tonight from the open panel on the power of parental failure. We're going to be discussing families, parents, and breaking the bonds of trauma and family curses this evening. So thank you for pulling up, and we'll be looking for folks to participate as we go along. To start off with the power of parental failure. It's a deep topic. It's not to be taken lightly. And we know that parenting is one of the most important jobs in the world. It has massive impact on a child's development. But what happens when the parent becomes the source of harm? There's this overwhelming reality for so many adult children that they are struggling with effects of toxic parenting, from psychological manipulation to emotional abuse. Toxic parenting can have a long lasting impact on a person's mental health, their well-being, their day-to-day life. It can shape their beliefs about themselves, their relationships, their intimacy, the world around them. But the effects don't necessarily stop there. Research has shown over and over again that it has psychological consequences, physiological consequences, increased stress levels, anxiety, chronic health problems, and so much more. Tonight, we're going to tear it down a little bit. We're going to tear down these demons. We're going to tear down the wall taboo. We're going to explore the cyclical trauma, how to escape it. We're going to explore the scars and recovery and boundaries, setting boundaries, how to get over these things. As always, we always say here, we are not licensed psychiatrists, licensed psychologists. We're not here to solve the world's ills and solve all the problems. But we are here to provide perspective, give you a little bit of an angle on the way that other people have gone through situations similar, and how they've come through it and circumvented the challenges. So thank you for pulling up this evening. Let's have some fun. Let's get through this together. Now, in my mind, the escape is one of the most challenging perspectives, one of the most challenging dynamics of being in a toxic situation. Um, we're taught from a young age that our parents are to be here as our guides, they're to be trusted. We are to honor thy mother and thy father. But we are never provided with a better path when things don't go the way they're expected. When our parents fall short, when they themselves allow their problems and toxicity to impact us, right? Um, Give me just a second here. I am going to pop the link up in the chat. There we go. Anybody's interested in stopping by, feel free to. But as parents, don't move with intention. And I know there's a lot of parents out there. I myself am not one. But from what I have seen, what I've experienced, what I have witnessed in behaviors of those around me, when a man and a woman don't move with the intention of bettering themselves and bringing a family into this world and understand the dynamics of raising a young one or multiple young ones in some cases, without that intention and that goal and focus behind being a parent, it's inevitable that things may and often do fall short. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned along the way. Um, Relationships of any scope require learning along the way. We're not gifted, unfortunately, with all the answers. So it takes time, it takes effort, it takes determination to pull everything together, the give and the take, the nurturing one another, supporting one another, the times of sickness and health. People don't go into relationships with that intention. Um, they don't prepare for those challenges. A lot of times it's a moment of passion. A lot of time it's pressure from society, pressure from family. Uh, the proverbial clock starts ticking. Um, the derogatory wall starts approaching as we get older, and people scramble. They move out of urgency and not intention. That's where things can falter. That's where your heart isn't in something and you're not giving it what you should. You're not immersing yourself in the moment. You're not immersing yourself in the learning process. And that happens all too often. So now, as you're learning yourself and you're not moving with the intention that's necessary, you're bringing a child into this world. And if you're not prepared for that, if you're not prepared to separate your traumas, your difficult days from that child, well, I think we've all seen it from examples that those energies, those vibes pass off to that child, uh, be it through an atmosphere of high stress in the family and tension between the adults, be it, the darker side of things, the abuse and exposing. the vulnerability of a child and tearing down that child. And yeah, very good point there, Sunkissed. People go into connections with the guard up. Nowadays, they never take it down, and you have to build that trust up. You have to build that trust, and it's it's even more difficult these days. And I think a lot of it, I'm an IT guy, but I think a lot of the boundaries that we build up, and we'll go into boundaries a little bit later, but I think a lot of the social boundaries and a lot of the lack of sincerity and the lack of knowing yourself comes from living behind these screens from a young age. And I think probably the millennials are where that breaking point hit. But being raised by a screen, or immersing yourself in the screen as that escapism piece, I think that's deteriorated um, social interaction and the way in which humans interact with one another, especially if at a young age you're impressed upon by that technology. Um, it it separates you from the reality of the sandbox, of the playground, of the places where children socialize and learn those interactions, the dynamics of you're a girl, I'm a boy. Well, in the classic world, those social dynamics and how we fit together, how we play our parts in social dynamics of who's the stronger personalities are and how to interact with those stronger personalities, or how to assist individuals who may be a little weaker. A lot of that is just those are just the basic dynamics of growing up. A lot of that is just lost, I feel. The more I see things from my perspective, and I'm mid to late 40s, so I've seen a fair amount. And like I mentioned before, I'm an IT kid. I'm a geek at heart. I've been around computers since I was about 8, 10 years old. So with the growth of the child, and realizing, as that child realizes differences in society and different dynamics, and maybe here's a case, example. You got a child who enjoys staying at his friend's house a little more than going home. And I consider myself hitting that elder statesman uh, era of life. As I look and see, as I've seen through my life, examples of this. I've had friends, back in middle school. I've witnessed family relationships and dynamics of colleagues and friends around me, who end up being a safe harbor for children, um, who aim to escape the trauma at home. And then, that continues on. They get older, but now the scars start settling in. You start to realize that the world is not roses and bunnies and unicorns. You got this altered perspective of life based on, again, your experience, right? That's any of us. Um, for some of us, we're blessed and protected in our lives. No one's parents are perfect. No one's experience is perfect, but there's degrees to these traumas, or stresses, and scars. on our souls as we get older. And, it can be something like, the kids on the bus made fun of me, to a deep rooted abuse. Um, and if we don't address that and escape it and acknowledge that there is a better way to life out there that can be the that can produce that cyclical trauma and that can produce that cyclical bitterness that you now harness and will pass on. Um, like Sunkiss says here, arrested development in some cases. You don't rise above that trauma or realize that there is a way out of it, that you have a path to a better life. You have a path to a life where you don't have to necessarily defend and shelter yourself, where you can embrace what life has to offer and breathe a sigh of relief. I was on a live stream. I was in the chat, and I was listening to the panelists talking about relationships, which, as we all know, is a topic that's on the forefront of the YouTube sphere. Men versus women. Shout out to Bronze Bird. Last night I was participating as a wrench, as a mod for him. Last night, Sunkissed, you were there. He got down on the topic of the gender war, and if there is a gender war. So the topic's out there everywhere. We're all whispering about relationships and whispering about the challenges that we've experienced. But to get to the point, those experiences, those little hiccups in our life are normal. They're natural. They're part of the learning experience. But they can be amplified so much more when you don't have a healthy home as a child. For instance, and I'm trying to stay away from the talking points of the relationship situation right now. Red pills, feed the pharmacy, all the different pills out there. But it's hard not to address, even in a lightweight case, that if you're not ready for a relationship and you're not ready to commit to the new life that you're going to bring in to the world, everything that has bittered your experience in your soul is just going to pass right on to that baby. It's just going to pass right on to that kid. If you're not prepared with your partner to surround that child with love and with the attention that it's going to need and instruction that it's going to need from both parents, the masculine and the feminine, the way in which to conduct themselves, the way in which to exist in this ultimate world of pain, you again are just repeating that cycle and arresting that child in this cycle of trauma. Without addressing those scars, no matter how much of a desire you have to use escapism, in a lot of cases, women use having a child as the escapism. I wasn't loved, but my baby's gonna love me. I wasn't loved by my parents, so I'm just going to have a whole bunch of kids that are going to love me more than my parents ever could. Situations where you're going to have a baby and dress it up like a doll and treat the baby like an object, like a pocket poodle in one of those handbags, the Paris Hilton pocket baby, an accessory. Again, that's a parent that had unaddressed trauma. You know, there's there's plenty of examples out there because for each human, our journey's different. Our struggles are relative. I think from what I think in a lot of cases, if it's not a situation where you are a more blue pill aligned gentleman and you're just starting a good family, you're starting a family and you're just following the biology of the wife. Um, I think you have a situation where you're kind of backed into a corner, so to speak. Your heart's not in it. You're not prepared. You're not moving with the intention. Um, we can't forget the gentlemen out there that just do it for the nookie. You're getting it in just for the nookie of it. Not even thinking about protecting yourself. You can't rub two nickels together. You can't do anything for yourself. You don't even have a license because you done some dumb shit and got it took. Or, well, in many cases, you just jumping from couch to couch because the law is chasing you for child support. You know who you are. I handed in my bro code card a few years ago, so I'll let the brothers have it too. The couch surfers just eating chips and eating Lunchables, dating baby moms, eating Lunchables, eating the kids Lunchables and fruit snacks, not helping nothing out, not helping nobody out, not being an image of what a man should be. No positive image to the kids. Just passing the trauma, um, lack of direction, lack of intention. Just passing all that on to the kid, passing all that on to children. Never exploring before you even dive into that what you can do to be better so that you can prevent the same nonsense from happening to the children. So back to the panel discussion. I was on this panel. I was not on the panel, excuse me. I was in the chat. And one of the panelists, it was the most baffling argument. And I believe the discussion was passport bros, leaving the West behind. Sick and tired of the dating games. And one of the ladies on the panel was very passionate about the fact that she found it unacceptable that men were freely choosing to do that. And the contention was that there exists in America, and we won't go into the details surrounding her story, but there exists in America, in cities, this arrested development cyclical trauma. And it does. It absolutely does exist. The issue I had with the panelists discussing this was that it appeared to me that she was making other individuals' trauma my problem when it is beyond the scope of what I could even begin to comprehend. And I'm using myself because, of course, she was addressing the audience as a whole, the panel as a whole. You know how these things go. Um, she highlighted the fact that there is a cyclical disease in one of the neighborhoods that she's from, where essentially you have cycle after cycle after cycle of no father in the home, baby mom living off of zaddy government. Okay. So you got them living off of public assistance in the PJs or some kind of subsidized neighborhood and whatnot. And essentially what's happening is, if you use the cookie cutter example of what the hood, quote unquote, looks like, you got no good brothers doing nothing good at all but making babies, and you got baby mama after baby mama twerking like a roach. And the darkest part of this is essentially you have and I've heard it more than once, I've seen it more than once, so I'm going to just call it the proverbial "I survived it, so will she" sentiment from the mother. I survived it, so will she. So essentially, they're just tossing their daughters up to be played with from young age on by the neighborhood. And this panelist was very passionate about this disease and very passionate about the trauma being caused and the fact that she knows people and she herself, and on and on and on. So we don't have anybody on the panel right now. We got some viewers out there. Thank you very much, folks, for joining, and thank you very much for participating in the chat. But I'm just going to pose this question out there: in the case of someone in a situation like this, where is the escape? It seems obvious to me, living on the outside of this, looking outside in, um, even having friends throughout my life that had been in similar situations, even family members that had been on public assistance. There's, as always, depths to each person's experience. It's all relative, but nothing of that scope, where you see the just systemic sickness over and over and over. So how do people escape? Where do they draw the line? How do they become enlightened enough to know? I think, going back to the relationship and dating dynamics that we're seeing out here today, the entitlement, the ties that bind us to reality TV type atmospheres, and you know living vicariously through the Kardashians and a lot of people, sports stars, rappers. I think once we open our minds, good one. Once we open our minds and stop attaching ourselves to false idols, to um, materialism, maybe then we could start to appreciate other vibrations, more positive outlooks. It is a tough sell, though. It is a tough sell. As I gotten older, you you learn, or you become exposed to different facets of um, community, right? Community and culture. The funny thing about um, culture is that there isn't any one culture across America. And even within ethnic groups, there are multiple different cultural experiences. And those experiences make up the communities. But if these individuals don't even realize that they've learned a sickness and they've learned to cope with that sickness, they're never going to escape those communities. And they're never going to escape that culture. When I was growing up, there were a lot of things that I took in. I was one of those quiet kids. I didn't talk till I was like 2 or 3 years old. I was maybe a little bit shy, maybe a little bit nervous about the experience of being a child in this world of complete pain. Um, but I observed a lot of behaviors, a lot of wild behaviors, a lot of adult talk, um, a lot of warnings. Now, be careful around this adult. If they say something or they do something, run away. Now, be careful when you go to this place. Individuals there aren't necessarily good and they're not family. Be careful. And then, even with family members, their behaviors, I observed them. I observed extended families' behaviors. And then, as I got older, all the pieces started to fit. All the pieces started to make sense. My own experiences, my own interactions with individuals, my days in the sandbox of being an adult. All the pieces started to form a big picture. The different types of experiences, the different traumas, the different levels of sadness, the different stress levels, chronic health problems, and the results of those problems, the results of the relationships, the traumas of the family. I spent um, I spent Thanksgiving with a group of gentlemen, 4 other men and myself. And in the case of each one of those men, they had gone through, it's just from a gentleman's perspective, but they had gone through trauma in their romances that throughout that trauma had culminated in shortcomings as parents. So from those relationships, you now have another generation that has been impacted. When you have the dynamics of a mother and father that are both experiencing or inexperienced rather, and are not moving with intention, not only can they pass off the toxicity as we've already talked about, as I've talked about, but these scars that you now have continue into your adulthood because those behaviors of the parents will never change. They've already been arrested by their behaviors and their own traumas, right? Try not to overuse the word, but you now as an adult are living with these scars and are continuing to experience behaviors that impact you. How do you set boundaries? Again, it kind of goes back to that escape. In the Bible, we've got obey thy mother and thy father, but there's no instructions for when your parents are ailing and they're, mentally slipping. There's no instructions for, and I use the Bible as a rule and guide. It's an instruction book. Um, when you're looking at the text, there's no instructions for an abusive parent. There's no instructions for dealing with mental degradation in somebody who may be psychotic or going through early onset dementia. We just don't have the instructions for these things. We have social programs, and of course, you should always refer to a licensed professional and get assistance from areas of aging or whatever the case may be. But you're now in a position where, as an adult, you never set boundaries, you never healed, you never got therapy, you never addressed these things. You've passed it on to a new generation. Without the awareness and without detaching yourself, even if it's momentarily, you're never going to grow. You're never going to grow. That comfort, that eternal seeking of the warm and fuzzy, the eternal seeking of the heart, wanting that fulfilling relationship over and over again. Exactly. That yearning allows you to constantly fall back and not set those boundaries that need to be set. Yeah, exactly. So I don't mean to be all doom and gloom today, but parents hold the ultimate power. They're bringing new life into this world. And it's highly underrated. It's highly under recognized and and highly participated in by individuals who are not prepared for the task. God, it's the beginning of everything. It's the start of everything. To be honest with you, it's the beginning of a lot of these problems that have become so cliche across the sphere, across discussion groups and therapeutic sessions, and it's the basis for our communities and cultures. Procreation, and it's a joke to so many. It's a It's a way to manipulate. It's a way to garner attention and false affection. I think, in my mind, going back to the escape, and again, not a licensed therapist of any sort, but from what I've seen and discussions I've had with individuals throughout my life, there's always an escape. It's up to that person to grasp and utilize whatever that escape is. There's a it's that person's volition to do so. And even in the case of being weaker and younger, there are plenty of situations that I've heard of where there are those moments of clarity, but the love of the parent or parents and that constant seeking causes for a arrested development and a cyclical return to the trauma. Hey, Miss V, how you doing? Sound check. Can you hear me? Okay, we'll give her a second. But yeah, that rewinding the experience over and over again, and unfortunately not reaching out for the hand that's there to help you, that helping hand. It's that missed opportunity for so many. And I've seen it so many times. Now there is a conscious fear of in a lot of people's minds, there's a conscious fear of progress, of the unknown. The intimidation of not feeling that you're smart enough, or that you don't know what to expect because you've never been on the other side of the experience. I think that's normal. We all go through that, even on a minute scale, like examining a new tax form and going about learning something. It's uncomfortable. It's absolutely uncomfortable. And I can only guess more so when you have that fear of the unknown and you haven't moved to advance, and you keep ruminating. Exactly. You keep ruminating over it over and over again. You keep playing games with yourself in your mind. I think I think I experienced, never on the scale of what we're talking about here, but I think, even just in day to day, right? No experience in our lives is all roses. And I think even in our day to day, like I said, like working on a new tax form, exposing yourself to new experiences at work. I work in process management, and there was always something to be improved. There was always something to dive into. And I just started a new job. So there's layers of the onion that I got to peel back to even understand how the business works. And then on top of that, you got to jump in and come up with new ways of doing things that people have done for years. So now you have to talk to other individuals and get buy-in from other individuals that they're going to change the way that they're doing what they've been doing. That's not comfortable for me. That's not comfortable for them. So when you look at the scope of somebody trying to escape trauma that they've known, that they've been raised into, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for how to overcome that. I know that there are individuals who have given their life's work to counsel and to um, basically become a community pillar of light and instruction, and they see progress. The only place that they're able to see it, though, is not with the adults. It's with the young adults and the children. Starting that influence early, that positive influence to help hold back and stifle all the bullshit they've been going through. Hey V, can you hear me? Nope, no mic yet. All right, give me just a second, folks. Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties. Give me just a second. All right, folks, sorry about that. So yeah, let's see where we were. Oh, let's try again. Hey V, can you hear me? I tell you what, I was having trouble with the stream earlier. Odd. Maybe they ran an update. So let's see. She can hear me, but I can't hear her. All right, one more second, folks. Tech support on the way. Stream's running funny for some reason. How about now, V? No, can't hear you. Man, y'all. This is out of control. It is not connecting. Let me see something while we're doing all the tech support. Can you hear me? All right, I'm back. I tried to connect from my phone and I was able to. Let's see. Hey, Sunkissed. Oh, so that's weird. It shows you're on there.
Can you hear me?
Hey, yep, I can hear you now.
Hey, what's up?
What-
How you doing?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Trying to answer some questions for myself tonight in the world. You know how it is. We solve all the world's problems on YouTube.
You done? Right?
I was hoping we would see
Yeah.
we would see feathers from the bronze chicken.
Right? You might pull up.
So let's see how many questions we have. A million different questions, a million different angles to approach this. The cyclical trauma, the scars, the boundaries. Which one to tackle first?
Um, let's go. Let's go boundaries.
Boundaries. So let's see. I've set boundaries with intimate loved ones, but let's see. I've also set boundaries with family. So
Right. I've had to do the same. It took a while. It definitely took a cycle before I realized that was what needed to be done. But as you grow and you learn and experience, you figure out, or at least when you get those lessons, it's one thing to learn lessons, but it's a totally different thing than moving forward.
mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, they might figure out the what, but they still make the same mistake and apply it. So it's kind of like a waste. But yeah.
It's wasted. It becomes wasted time and it wasted experience at that point.
Mm-hmm. And then the cycle continues. But yeah, I had to. Well, I guess I'm put down with friends and family. It was a struggle, like a real life challenge to boundaries with my ex, because I realized that I really had never said any. So,
Mm-hmm.
Hindsight, or as I look back and through, it's like, well, what did I expect? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't set boundaries. If I did, I didn't stand on them. So
Right.
it was like, open house.
Yep.
So it makes a difference.
Yep.
But yeah.
And there's that constant cycle of leaving yourself vulnerable by not setting those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I think self-love was probably loving myself and understanding my worth was probably the turning point for me, and I had to do it twice, once for each parent.
Right. Right.
Once for the father when I was young, and then once for the mother as I was an older man. Their shortcomings are not my problem. Their
Right.
shortcomings are not my problem. And that was a hard lesson to learn. It was a hard experience to work through.
Right.
And then on the relationship side, there was that boundary of I didn't realize what I needed to. No one ever said, "Hey, look, this is what you should expect from a relationship. This is what's healthy for you."
Mm-hmm.
So it's this constant cycle of doubting yourself and self-sabotaging and just going through everything over and over again and thinking, doubting, the self-doubt over and over again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Definitely.
now I have the angle of having the finger of toxic masculinity pointed at me. So there's that dynamic as well. Am I being toxic? Is it something I'm doing that's wrong? And more
Mm-hmm.
self-sabotage, more
Right.
mental machinations.
Right. Definitely. I definitely feel you. I think, like, I didn't realize that I had childhood trauma, unhealed, I should say, childhood trauma, or anything of the sort, until my last relationship. I had no idea that there was something I needed to, deal with, or the reason why I picked this particular man and or the ones prior to him. I noticed that there was a certain point where there was a pattern. It was like the same energy, different guys. And fortunately, that energy was no good. Like, it would have been great if he was the right one, but um, in this case, it wasn't. And I had no idea that, like, I was secure, or, a lack of self love, um, abandonment issues, even. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know this was a thing. I'm like, I'm good, I'm not tripping off of nothing. Like, what are you talking about? So, but again, it wasn't until after the breakup and I separated myself, I was able to, see all the things that, oh, okay, oh, aha, ah. It was a lot of that going on. So, it, I think when people are in relationships, I don't know if it's like a thing, maybe it is, but people either don't want to do the work, or
Mm-hmm.
they are conditioned to feel like, in order to get past or heal from the last one, jump to the next one, and they don't air out those relationships in between. And so it's like they just keep, adding more, trauma and toxicity, and just, sabotaging basically the next relationship or connection. Because you're not healed from the
Right.
last, you're gonna look at it through, a skewed like a skewed scope.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, the healing from the family trauma, there were two perspectives to it. There was the constant seeking validation,
Right.
which came from the father's side, and then on the mother's side, there was I almost want to. There's varying degrees to everything, but there became like the husband son thing. The
Okay.
I had you to help me,
Right. Right.
kind of. Yeah. So again, that's where that boundary had to be set, because there's a and I already said it, there's varying degrees of everything there, but that expectation that my whole life is going to revolve around the fact that my kids are going to take care of me when I get old.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between that expectation and the understanding of a family. There's
Okay.
the
Right.
there's a difference between falling ill and needing support and just giving up and expecting.
Right. Right. Right.
And humans by nature
Yeah.
are lazy. And humans by nature do not actively seek to do better unless they are a determined spirit. And it's just that's just the way it is. It's a whole lot
Right.
easier to go the path of least resistance. That change, that having to literally have a conversation stating that you will not allow any more of this behavior to continue, and to be able to stand on that with someone who otherwise you love or respect, or you have this learned dynamic with.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? The trauma bonding, even.
Yep.
But yeah.
Exactly. It falls right in line with that. um
Okay.
and the first step to that is breaking it and setting those boundaries. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
people are lazy. um
For sure.
and that's probably a lot of the reason why, like, again, shout out to Bronzebird, but he believes in healing. You know what I mean? So he believes in that therapy, in addressing the who hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey V, can you hear us now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, you're live.
Hey,
You're back
Oh,
up now.
thank God. That took forever.
let's go. I know,
Hi,
right?
guys.
Sunkiss, you had trouble too?
Yeah, that's why I had wrote in the chat like I'm coming up. I'm going to block again and see if I can find parking. Like it was kind of glitchy at first, but we got
Yeah. So V, welcome to the panel. You've probably been listening in on the power of parental failure, and we
Yes.
started. I kind of highlighted a few different angles. How to escape it, the therapy, and how to heal the scars, and then setting the boundaries so you can move forward. Um, and then, of course, a million questions in between there.
Yeah.
But we started to address setting boundaries. You wanna chime in on thoughts about that?
Oh gosh, there's so much. I wouldn't even know where to start. Like as far as family, relationships, friendships, everything took place at different stages of my life, depending on different situations that were occurring.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, with family, I never really got a chance to set boundaries with my dad because he was on the other side of the world and he was refusing to reconnect with me. And I wasn't sure why. I've tried all I could, nothing worked.
Mm-hmm.
But with my mom was very much a mom, not like a mom and somewhat of a friend. My mom was very strict and we didn't have much of a relationship. I actually feared her. And because I feared her, I didn't talk to her a lot. So it wasn't until my 20s that we actually developed a friendship and slowly started to discuss different things that affected me throughout my childhood. And it wasn't until my 30s when I really set boundaries and put my foot down with a lot of things and had no issues walking away. Literally, I even remember a few years back, I just left in the middle of Christmas dinner because I was like, I'm not tolerating this. I'm out. So, and it actually having discussions and hearing how she was raised and like just learning more about my mom's upbringing, everything made more sense. We were able, I think, I wouldn't say we both healed, but we're healing together and separately, and it made our relationship stronger. I think as far as as far as making a change, you have to really want to make that change, and it's difficult. It's a lot easier said than done.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Because there's still those ties to the individuals.
Yeah,
That those um, the learned natural order of where they fit in our life,
yeah,
and moving away from that or separating yourself from that in order to protect yourself and love yourself and maintain your own sanity and your
yes,
own health.
exactly. That's literally what I think I even said that. I was like, I have to leave to because I'm gonna go crazy. I need to go. I need to protect my mental health. Like, I need to leave. And that was actually a good thing because it led me to stand up for myself in all my other relationships. I actually didn't realize until my 30s that I think you really should start with your parents as far as confronting things and discussing things, because then all your other relationships fall into place. You either get rid of people or friendships and relationships become more solid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For me, that's kind of what happened. Like, I just, after talking and discussing and growing and healing with my mom,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the ball just kept rolling. Like, I went from like a group of 8 best friends to 2 best friends. Like, everything regarding how I was dating changed. I stopped following dating rules. I would lay out everything out on the table on the first date. And if you don't like it, we can finish our coffee and be done.
let's go.
Like, I just stopped wasting time. I stopped wasting time, and that like was very freeing, but it took me years to get the guts to do it. So I think if people want to change, I think they have to confront the people that they need to confront, even if they love them. Like, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Took me 20 years to do it, but I did it.
Congrats. Salute.
Thank you. You're saying
Thank
something?
you.
No, I was saying congrats and salutes because it is difficult
Thank you.
to,
Thank you.
to do something like that. I mean, a lot of us know we need to seek somebody that, whether it usually is probably a parent, but just that whole idea of depending on where your parents are in their timeline as far as, headspace and the whole, like, if you try to give them, like for me, when I was in my 20s about that, in teenage years, like it was hard to express to my mother how I felt with regard to anything.
Yeah.
So, and it was like, if it wasn't one of those, it wasn't the dynamic where tell me why you feel this way. It was almost like if I were to say, well, mom, this and that, it's like, who you talking to? It's disrespect type of, a dynamic.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, I don't think she meant to be in that, in that position, but of course she had a crazy she was brought up real crazy, like yikes. Like she did the
Yes.
opposite of how she grew up with me. But there was still, those that finishing sprinkling salt of the toxicity and the, what they went through in
Of course.
generations. So, it was like I got to a point where I literally told myself and my mom, like, your opinion of me and what I do and don't do is neither here nor there. Like, I used to let it bother me, like, however she thought a situation was, I would take that in, and that would be what it is because she said it. And it was like, hold on, everything, you know what I mean? It's like, that's an opinion.
Yes.
That's not
That
law.
sounds like me and my mom too. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? He was like, hold on, let me readjust this. Let me turn the dial. So, like, yeah, I got to the point where, like you said, sis, I was able to let them know, like, okay, I haven't done that with my daddy yet. But my mom, we're, at a place where it's like, okay, you have a connection. There's not that tension there, but still got to work on this.
Is your communication with her easier? Like, you can talk to her more about stuff now?
Yeah, much better.
It's good.
She's like a homebody hermit type, so she doesn't have a lot of people around her to tell her, like, hey, this is biased or you are wrong. Like, there's nobody to tell her if she's, needing to readjust. So she's always right. You know what I mean? That kind of dynamic.
Oh,
so it was hard. It was hard to deal and talk of. Yeah, we're past it now, so we're good. Yeah. But yeah, it's a challenge. But again, it's the work. You gotta want to put it in.
Yeah, and then once you start putting in that work, it's years and years and years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and B, I think my story kind of parallels what you experienced in a different way, right, relative to me. But there are these points where, so I didn't have all the instruction in the world or guidance for maybe the better of 10 years from a positive male figure from, maybe around 15 to 25. And I think, there was that point where, I had to address things with my father and his behavior, which fell on deaf ears in the end. But, for me, it was freeing and it was liberating to say, hey, I'm putting my foot down and the way that you're acting is shitty.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was able it kind of like powered me up. I felt empowered because I realized you ain't shit but just another man that puts his underwear on the same way I do. You just happen to be the one that had me.
Let's
and I think I carried that forward I carried that forward as how I viewed other men and how I viewed their behavior through life, as in dating culture, in getting girls pregnant, and like how I viewed other men, like everything, it changed my outlook, and I was a lot more critical. And that's why I kind of said earlier, I've handed in my bro code card, my man card, because I'm not here to I'm not here to pander to the same sex and think that and allow them to think that I'm going to let shit slide.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
then as I got older and I hit that, point a few years back where I said, "Hey, look, your shortcomings are not my problem, mom. Your issues are not mine. And you blatantly disrespect me and have no regard for my happiness or welfare. And you're taking advantage of that." And again, that was like, hold up. This is the dynamic that people talk about, that I've heard so much about. This is the dynamic. I'm in the midst of it. And I didn't even realize that I
Mm-hmm.
can't maneuver as a man of in my own right, because I have other accountabilities and things that are not my problem,
Right.
that are ultimately
Right.
not my problem. And it's not it's not a and again, we kind of go back to that relationship thing and then and the dynamics of it, but it's not it didn't become a harsh judgment, but it became that awakening of, okay, be aware that these kinds of things exist, these kinds of situations exist. This is how you felt, this is where you were put, this is the position you were put in. And allowed me to, again, that awakening, like to say, okay, what do I want in my life? What do I expect to see? And what can I share with other people that I experience that can be a red flag and a warning for them to, improve upon their situation or set those boundaries that they need to set. Excuse me. But
Right.
yeah, I think it parallels a lot of what you said there. And then there's also, there's a little bit off topic. I spiral all the time, but there's also
Me
like those
too.
little moments of awakening as you get older, and like you're like those little aha, like there's like those little aha moments, and you're like, oh my god, this whole year makes sense all of a sudden. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
but
Right.
yeah, those go
Oh
along
yeah.
with like growth and just being an using our intelligence. Everybody doesn't
Right.
do that.
Yeah, sometimes those aha moments are good, but sometimes they're painful. Sometimes you have that realization like, oh my gosh, I was
Yep.
completely
Mm-hmm.
used or taken advantage of. I was a doormat. Why the hell did I put these people up on a pedestal? What did they do to deserve to be up there?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yep. I definitely went through that with with my ex for sure. It was like, hold on, like looking back now, like, bruh, never, November, never, 2000, never. But then it was like, you know what I mean? But at
Yeah.
that time, it was
Oh
like
yeah.
I now I know I was like unhealed and just my spirit was so not chaotic, but like busy. Like I didn't have any like grounding. There's just a lot going on, but I had no idea. I thought we were good because we were on the same frequency when obviously when we met, and then as time moved forward, it was like, okay, there was growth happening within me, but not him. So I started seeing things, and things started to become clear. Like, okay, wait a minute, like I need to do something. Like clearly, it's me. Like I was saying earlier, just a minute ago, that there was a pattern of men but different outfits, to where I'm like, okay, wait, I'm dealing with the same type of man, but I'm the common denominator. So I can't really be pointing fingers at where these guys suck or if they suck, because I'm so I suck. You know what I mean? Like instead of pointing my fingers at them,
Yeah.
let me attracting these people. Why are they, why is my frequency colliding with theirs instead of saying he's disrespectful or he's cheap? Why am I staying with you is the question. Not why are you a cheater? We got that, we know. So
Yeah. I remember crying to one of my guy friends, and he was like, V, the only thing I can tell you is that you're too good for this, but I don't understand why you're making these choices. And I was like, but I love him. He was like, look, he was like, look, he said, a man will only treat you how you will allow for him to treat you. It is your choice. Everything is your choice. And I was like, I know.
Absolutely.
It's like you know that it's
Absolutely.
true, but you're in this like I love him zone. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do these things.
Help. Help.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The short term, in the end, it is painful, but in the end, that short term moment of realization is a whole lot better than a lifetime of problems. Like, it's like, just take the lump, figure it out, sort it out. I'm the problem. I'm the one that keeps picking the wrong ones. Yeah, your stories aren't even like girly centric or nothing, woman centric. Like, that's just life. Like the common denominator is me. I picked incorrectly, and I use. I mean, look, man, I'm a romantic at heart, so it's like the rose colored glasses beyond strong.
Yeah.
Oh, I had like 6 pairs of them shits.
I got the Louis frames. I got the.
Hey, like it was too much.
Yeah, and then
it definitely applies to everybody because guys do it too. They're like, I don't know why I'm still with her, like because you're choosing to be.
Right. Like still like it always goes back to self. I mean, it's self-esteem.
Yeah.
It's self-confidence. It's self-worth. You know what I mean? So it's not them esteem, them confidence. So it's like you gotta deal with it. All ties back to you, whatever it is. You tie it to you to see it all. That's all. You know what I mean?
That's why my favorite thing to say is to look in the mirror. Don't forget to always look in the mirror because a lot of the times it's up to you to make the change, to make that first step, whether it's healing or walking away from a relationship or setting boundaries. Like, I know it's a lot easier said than done because some people are not taught love and self-esteem and all that other stuff. So they have to go through crappy relationships to figure it out. And some get out and some don't.
Yep. And that's part of that power that parents hold, man, to teach the kids that stuff, to expose us to those things, or at least the idea of those things, so that we don't walk out into the world defenseless. It's and I rest on the fact that I say it's an absolute life of pain, because it is an absolute life of pain. There's plenty of pleasure that goes along with it. There's varying degrees of the uncomfortable moments, but it's an absolute life of pain. And then you get old and your bones start hurting.
Right.
Gosh. Yeah, but it's definitely important to talk to your kids about that stuff too. Like I talk with my daughter about anything she wants to know about, and if I don't know it, we'll research it together. Like a couple of days ago she came up to me and she said, there are 3 types of dads in the world. And I said, okay. And she goes, there's a sperm donor, there's a father, and then there's a dad. And I said, okay, I'm pretty sure I understand the sperm donor part. And I was like, what's the difference between a father and a dad? She said, a father is someone who's kind of there, kind of not. He's usually not in the same house. But even if you have a good relationship with him, he's not really teaching and he's not present, and then a dad is someone that teaches you things and spends time with you and raises you and, usually in the same household. So I'm like, I told her it was a very good way to look at it.
I think I did a similar breakdown for myself mentally as I got older, looking at my own experience with my father. in
Hmm.
other people's experiences. I think I've also come up with a similar kind of pyramid.
Yeah. Because, and I'm glad she brought it up because that is always in the back of my mind. I just never share it with her, but like, I
Yeah.
can't help but to have those stresses of, is she being affected by the fact that she's being raised by a single parent? And so when she brought that up, it kind of opened the door for me to actually talk to her and see how she felt about everything and see if she was lacking anything or if she wanted to spend more time with her dad. Because honestly, I'm always kind of like the one that's connecting them.
Hmm.
And now that she's older, I've noticed that they kind of grew apart. So
Mm-hmm.
I found out that she was very proud of me and she considers herself very blessed to be my child. But I also found out that she would like for me to like set up little like dinners and like maybe like once every couple of months to like
Hmm.
call her dad so we can spend time together as a family.
Hmm.
Because we used to do it all the time. Like we were co-parenting really well when she was little. But then she kind of became a teenager and she kind of pushed me away a little bit and pushed him, like it's like I thought she's a teenager, like it's normal. She's not going to want to hang out with me all the time. But
Right.
it was nice to have that conversation because now I need to make sure that I set up like a lunch or a dinner for us, like at least once a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good that you're, first of all, salute to you because um you're emotionally mature enough woman to not be toxic.
Thank
Well,
you.
of course. I
Well, of
brought her
course,
into
of
this
course.
world. She didn't ask. She didn't ask to be here. I
Right.
brought her into this world. It's about her first, then everything else. So I
Hmm.
think that's how it's supposed to be. And no, it does not mean you should forget about yourself. Because when you love and take care of yourself, you're a better parent. But I just don't understand parents who are like, well, my life doesn't have to change just because I have a kid, which I've been told that. So I personally don't understand that because
Hmm.
my life didn't just change. I wanted it to change. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was a must.
Hmm.
So
Yes, and there's yeah, mad respect to you for that because that's the way. So I guess it's I guess I would say I'm a conservative when it comes to family values and behaviors of adults, and that's also why I even got on this topic, um, and got away from the dating crap.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
like yeah, it's that I have an extreme amount of respect for adults that adult.
Hi.
Adults that adult. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't feel like they need a trophy because they're doing what comes with circle of life type of thing.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
you gave birth to a child, mother and father, so father or mother, like, you don't need a tree. Like, you guys decided to have a kid, so yeah, you're supposed
Yeah.
to do. Like, some people need, like, oh yeah, I pay child support. You have a child, yeah. Like, you don't need a high five. You need to get her done. You know what
Right.
I mean? But it's it's to a point now where it's like these, because parents are like, I don't want to say oblivious, but they the idea of being a parent was more attractive than actually being a parent. So it comes to the nurturing and the rearing and all of that, just let the nanny do it, or they just throw, you know, gifts or
Yes.
things that, do nothing. Saying give this kid any substance, any, because like, say for instance, like with I feel like with the dads that aren't in a daughter's life, that girl becomes a woman that is basically insecure. And
Yep.
then with men, it's like you're seeking validation, like you were saying
Hmm.
earlier.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and that can get so crazy, and get in that whirlwind, and you're living life on this idea of, I mean, it's like wearing with fingerprints all over it, smudged all over it. It's like you can see through it, but you're looking through all this debris and crap.
That's a good
So it's
analogy.
not a.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and then what happens is that passes off to children, because then you're not moving. We don't move with that intention of wiping those glasses clean, of wiping away the smudges, you know, or putting them in their proper boxes to catalog them away in our mind, you know, so that we know
Right.
we're not passing that on to our kids.
I'm cleaning my glasses all the time, and I'm cleaning my daughter's glasses all the time. I'm
Right.
trying to stay on top of everything. Like, ugh. Like
Big
no
up to
one
you,
prepares you
Trilla.
for parenthood. Like no one prepares you for it at all. Like it's so much work, and I think that's probably why a lot of parents drop the ball. They're human with their own traumas and pain that they must work on and heal. It will probably take, I mean, me personally, for the rest of my life, I will be healing and learning. Like that's the only way I can function now. And yeah, it just, you get lazy, like you just get lazy, I guess, when you're not in the right state of mind and you haven't done the work and the healing for yourself. And yeah, you can definitely affect your children for sure. So I try to make sure that I don't. I'm sure I'll always make mistakes, but it's important for me to stay. What's the proper terminology? Like be emotionally mature, you know, and have self-awareness and self-advocacy, and you know, it's important to be that way when you're a parent.
Hey Trilla, how you doing?
Yo, what's going on, bro?
What's up,
Pretty.
man? Welcome to the chat.
Yeah,
Hello.
appreciate it, man. Yeah, big up everyone. Yeah, man. Just gonna carry on. I think you invited me to the stream like on another stream, so I thought I thought might as well jump on today.
Great to have you. Great to have you. So we're
Yeah,
talking
sure.
about the power of parental failure, how to escape it, scars we're left with, recovery from it, boundaries we need to set so that we don't fall back into it, and more than anything, how we move forward. And myself, I'm not a parent, but the failure that is pushed off on the child, and how us as the adult children deal with it.
Yeah, it's a very tricky conversation. I mean, end of the day, what is a good parent? Generally speaking, that would be, looking at your kids when they grow up, how well they've, succumbed to everything, how well they how well they are as adults, from becoming children. So generally we are going to carry scars, I guess, depending on, bad memories. If we can try to inflict less of those bad memories from ourselves as possible, I think that's a good thing. For example, I don't believe in hitting children. I think it's better if we can try to avoid that and raise children to be acting in a good manner. At the same time, making sure children are prepared for the world, as much as possible, and its harsh realities that come with it.
Yeah, agreed. I think so I come from a Caribbean background, and I think that spare the rod, spoil the child was the You're from the Caribbean too, Sunkissed, aren't you?
Oh,
Okay. So I apologize. There was somebody else that was in the chat that was from the Caribbean as well. But I think that the spare the rod, spoil the child situation was probably my father's style of upbringing. And maybe that goes back to his Catholic roots, or the way he was brought up, because he was brought up in a third world country. And of course, the the dynamics there are very different to the Western world. They've, if your mother has a bunch of kids, well, they might go live with auntie, they might go live with grandma, they might go live with the other auntie. The family kind of spreads the love of raising the children by the village. That's taken to heart. So
Okay.
in Dad's case, he was raised by an auntie, and she was a disciplinarian. She was very, very strict. So I think that, that was his, kind of trauma from child rearing that he passed on, from being reared rather, that he passed on to us. So even within my conservative view, though, I think that, an occasional swat across the butt is all right.
But do you think that's the case though? I mean, like, just because you've grown up in a certain way, that's the way you're going to have to teach your children? Because I don't think it's like that. Like with me, for example, I was raised in a certain way. I come from an Indian household, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I kind of resent the fact, like, I was hit a couple of times. I mean, compared to other kids, I was probably spared. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
from a lot of shit. But like, I still remember that, and I feel like, what, I would never want to do that to anybody else. Because I feel like I wouldn't do it to an adult, let alone a child.
So
I agree with that, because I mean, I'm not going to get into the situations that I faced as a child, but it messed me up. So I'm actually getting emotional now just thinking about it. But yeah, I don't believe in physical abuse.
I tend to, well, again, I'm not a parent, but I tend to, even looking at, dating where you're assisting with the care of a child, it's still, it's never my place to ever discipline the child, but just observing how the mother responds to the child's behavior. I think it's I think that it's, if used in only extraordinary cases where discipline is required, I think is one-offs, outlier situations. But I don't think that it should be used as a constant. No.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And
I
it's
usually see the adults that need to get smacked. Pay attention to your child.
Oh,
Like, I just literally thought about this girl at Kroger's the other day. Her little kid, he couldn't have been more than 2, sitting in the car, and he's just screaming and crying and just reaching for her. And she kept smacking his arm, smacking his hand, smacking his face. And she's on the phone like, ha ha ha, laughing and flirting. Oh, you did? And I wanted to take her phone away and tell her, pick up your child. Get off the fucking phone. Oops, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, we're past our
Get
10
up-
minutes.
I'm like, get off your effing phone and pick up your kid. I was like, oh, it was driving. And I knew that if I was going to say anything, it was going to start drama. So I just kept trying to smile at him and wave and like make little faces to get his attention.
Children get the spoonful of sugar, to make the medicine go down, but adults get backhanded.
right.
Yeah. But since we're discussing this, I can't help but to think, well, what was her childhood like? What if she was ignored all the time too?
Yeah, but it comes down to as well, like, how they decide to parent. So it's really hard to tell somebody else how to parent, right?
Yeah.
Like, you might have your style of parenting, which might be really passive. Other people might be slightly a little bit more aggressive, or something like where they just ignore the child, and when they're crying, they just don't pay them much attention. Do you know what I mean? Like, to stop them from trying to get attention in that way, something like that, So,
yeah, well, she was getting attention on the phone from someone else. She was getting that attention. So her child was disturbing her from getting that attention. Like, it's kind of like, that's why I can't help but to think maybe the mom, when she was a child, she was ignored. And it's kind of like a generational thing.
Mhm.
It's possible that that's her situation. So I don't know.
You have the accessory situation as well, where the kid's an accessory. The kid's, it's a doll to put brand new Michael Jordan
Yeah.
sneakers on and dress up in the newest fashion. It's not a living, breathing individual that needs your nurture and attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like what is the old school
They can
saying?
sing every
Teachers should be, kids should be seen but not heard. I do not believe in that. I don't agree with that at all.
Sunkiss, were you saying something?
right.
Sorry.
So I was saying it's kind of like the whole where I guess sometimes I'll look at parents with their children and how they discipline or lack thereof. I know I get in my feelings and be okay, hold on, but then I know there was one point where okay, you know what, this is a snippet. What the heck that parent is dealing with, you know what I mean? Like that kid might be bad as hell, or so she's
That
like, I'm ignoring
might be screaming all the time.
You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, they just whoop their kid in the school.
We have
It's like
parents.
But sometimes I think too, some parents, or maybe that was the older generation where it's like there wasn't much talking. I know my mom did a lot of talking with me. Like I had to steal a car in order to get, a whooping or something like that. She would have conversations with me. With my son, I don't, like it had to be really big. With my son, I don't spank him either. Like when he was younger, there would be a tap here and there, but then once he started to get it, once he started going to school, like preschool and kindergarten and everything, I was like, hold on, I'm gonna be up at the school every day because I'm teaching my violence. So if he does something and I react with violence, he's gonna think that it's cool. So he's not gonna talk it out. He's just gonna, throw. And so, okay, for me that was like, okay, I need to speak with him and talk to him, let him know what's right, what's wrong, why. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to say, but and it's like, why not? Or if a kid asks and says, well, are you grounding me or whatever? Do what I said. You don't ask me. You do it. That whole thing is like, nah. You can explain to your child what's happening, what's going on, so they can understand and see what the process is, what's the method to your madness. You know what I mean? Without that,
exactly. Yeah.
Without
that's
that,
how I
like they're just like, hello,
talking about everything. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I know it takes time, and a lot of parents, like some of my friends, are like, "Oh, V, like I don't have time for all that. You're tripping." And I'm like, okay.
Hello.
Just don't be surprised when they get older and they're not going to talk to you about anything.
Right.
They're not going to talk to you about anything that's going on in their life. I know a lot. Right. I even know more than I probably should, but my kid tells me everything.
Good.
Now, Thrilla, are you a parent?
I'm not. I'm working on it.
Getting to practice in.
So yeah, I mean, I found somebody who, I want to have a kid with. Basically, she wants to have a kid with me. Well, she wants to have a kid, definitely. And like I'm kind of like, I'm in the same kind of boat. So yeah, we got a lot in common. We're making it work, So I think at the same time, look, whether it happens or not, it really doesn't faze me, right? But the thing is, like, I've had this conversation quite recently, actually, on the UK panels about children, child rearing, and so on and so forth. So, generally speaking, if I'm with somebody who already has kids, that's fine. You know, I don't find having I don't have a problem with people trying to, you know, be a father figure to kids that aren't their own. I think that can be that's an admirable trait, in my opinion, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to, like I said, I really kind of talked about disciplining, but on the point of how you decide to raise your children, or how you know, you and your partner decide to raise children, I mean, it really depends on yourselves. I mean, like if you were on the whole kind of, I don't know, you want your kids to be Shaolin monks, right? And, you know, you basically want them to, you know, endure some pretty intense training. It kind of starts from a very young age, you know? They might freaking cry. They might, you know, like, you know, not want to do the things that they have to endure, have a strict diet, a strict exercise routine, so on and so forth. But, you know, it really does toughen you up, and it gives you a lot of discipline. So, you know, like, I feel like people can have the best of both worlds. You can have a, you know, a really good life, and, you know, enjoy being a kid, playing and stuff like that, and at the same time have be set up for life physically, mentally, spiritually. You know, if
Yeah.
Yeah.
you learn these things from young, because when you're young, you're a sponge, right? You absorb so much. So
Yep.
it's the best time to learn. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Wow. You heard it here first. Shaolin monk kid.
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I do too. That's good knowledge right there.
You're only a kid for a very short amount of time of your life, but you consume so much. That's why it's important to be very patient as a parent, even though some days are very difficult, especially when you're a single parent and you don't have someone else to be like, hey, can you take care of her? I need like an hour. Please.
Times 2 days. No, I'm playing.
Yeah, that's why it's important to have friends and family. Honestly, it really is. You know. But yeah, I mean, I told my chick, yeah, I said to her, you know what? I can imagine you with a kid. You would smother that kid in kisses. And she said, how do you know? I said, yeah, I could tell because you smother me in kisses all the time. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I know that's exactly what you'd be like with a kid. So she's like, yeah, so true. That's exactly what I'd be like. It's mad that you knew that. So it's not really hard to pick up on. But like I would say to her, listen, you got to give a kid, you can't give him too much of anything, you know? You got to be balanced and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Give them what they need.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I have
So-
a question.
Mm-hmm.
A quick question. Okay. So, I had my perception on what was going with this female, but a friend of mine years ago when my son was, how old was he? He wasn't even 2 years, maybe 1.5. I was staying with her and her son. Her son was maybe like 3, and it was a friend from like I met her when we were 5, and then we grew apart and together as mothers. Okay, yay. So there was one day where I guess she was watching me, love my baby, because what we're talking about, that's default setting, right? So she was like, how can you kiss him so much? And I was like, it was a real question. Like, well, huh? Why do you
Wait,
kiss
she's a
him
mom
so
too, and she's asking you that?
fast?
Huh.
And I was like, because first of all, look at this face. How do you not kiss it all? And then what do you mean? Like, this is my son. Like, huh? What are you talking about? And she, like, what I had noticed is her son would always come to me, like, for the nurturing and the, like, I think she was just emotionally available.
Yeah.
And so he didn't get that lovey, like, that nurturing aspect of the mom. It was more like, okay, I have to clean your clothes, I have to make dinner, it's like a routine type thing. So she was like there to do all of the things you're supposed to do, but forgot to plug in the emotional standpoint of it. So what do you guys think that was what it was, that she was emotionally unavailable,
she was
or that
focused more on what She's emotionally unavailable because more than likely she was raised that way. And I can only speak about it because that was my mom's story as far as like when I discuss things with her. And my mom was very much like bills need to be paid, clothes on my back, food on the table. Everything was I was clean. She helped me with homework. Like she was a mom. Like, but as far as like hugs, kisses, I love yous, nurturing, I didn't have that. Like that actually affected me in my relationships because like if you talk to my exes, they'll probably tell you like she just wasn't what is that word? Oh, I should know this word because I've heard it so many times. I am not like love.
Emotionally available.
No, I was emotionally available. Like I was good as far as like talking and all that stuff. I'm not very like let's touch and hug and like watch a movie. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm not a very touchy feely. What is that word?
Yeah, touchy feely. Yeah, you weren't really touchy feely. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't
I-
like that, and that was lacking in my relationships. That like if I like if, in my opinion, if I can have my own room and my own bed, and you can be in your own, that would be great. Because I'm not that person. I'm just not like that, you know. And it wasn't until my daughter really like I just like you said, like look at this face. Like how do you just not love her? Like that's me. That was me. Like my daughter is the reason why I am like that now. Like I like to snuggle and hold hands and all that other stuff. So I guess it just depends. It depends on once again we're going back to healing within, like and working growing throughout your life and stuff like that, situations and certain people and healing with my mom and all that stuff. It contribute to to me being I'm still searching for the word. There's a perfect word for it. It's not nurturing, affection. There it is.
Affectionate.
Affectionate. I was told by my exes I'm not affectionate. So there. Yeah.
I gotta say, it works in the opposite way as well. Like I don't have a family that's huggy, kissy, touchy, right? We're not like that at all, right? Like I got 5 sisters. I don't hug them. Yeah, I don't. You know what I mean? I don't touch them. You know what I mean? It's all good, right? And but we're cool. You know what I mean? With each other. My mum and dad, we only hug each other when we're at the airport. You know, kind of thing. It's just the way we're raised. We love in a different way, right? Love them to death. You know what I mean? Do anything for them, right?
Right.
But when it comes to my relationships with women, I overcompensate on that I missed out with, you know what I mean, that I normally might have with friends and family. I make up for it with the women that I'm with, you know. And you know, like sometimes I'm a bit cold, I ain't gonna lie, and I'm a little bit distant, you know. But generally speaking, you know, I can be very affectionate because I know that I never really had much of that. So I make up for it with them, you know.
Yeah, I kind of had to create a like I have those days where I absolutely need my space. I know I don't want to talk. No, like I won't even answer a text. But it's a balance for me. Like I need my space, but if we're together, you will receive affection from me. You know.
It spins off or you end up not being very affectionate and kind of, you know, for lack of a better word, whether it's conscious or conscious, or the spin-off is you overgiving, you know, you love too much and you're trying to feel that, trying to be not overcompensate, but because as a child. So just how it plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It works both ways. It works both ways. So you can be, you know what I mean, really unaffectionate, or you can be very affectionate. It really depends, you know, on the person.
It depends on the day. It depends on what's going on in your life. It really
yeah,
does.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like for example, February. I'm usually very distant in February. Like, I've lost a lot of people that I love in during this month. So it's like it's
yeah.
the month when I'm very selfish. I don't usually reply back to text. That's why when E told me to join the podcast tonight, I was like, I'll think about it because
Yeah,
I already know it's February. I might be asleep.
yeah, but that's got nothing to do with February. You can't blame February. That's everything to
I
do with you.
know,
You know
I
what I mean?
get that, but like I lost them all in February. Why February? Why
Well,
all
you got,
in this month?
yeah, like I said, it comes down to us at the end of the day. Like we might be a
Yes.
certain way at certain times, but it's still on us. It's like, look,
Yes.
if we got a good person there, like I got a good woman next to me, but I don't, give her way nearly as much as she deserves, right? But she's still with me because she really appreciates me and she really likes me, right? So, and I know how hard it is to find a woman like her, so I stick with her, right? Only been like 5-6 months with her, right? But I've been with enough women to know what a good woman is, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like I try and make it work. And like she bought me a few gifts for Christmas. My birthday was in January. She bought me spent about $1,000 on me, right? Which is beautiful. Like it's really nice. And then I spent the same amount of money on her because I was like, don't want to think that I'm using her for a cash, you know what I
You're
mean? Even though she
using
earns
her
way
for
more than me.
money.
You know what I mean? It's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
bought her a nice gift. It is what it is. So yeah, you
Well,
gotta do
if
what
I'm
you gotta
ever in
do.
a relationship, I will consider February and not be as selfish. But right now I'm single, so I am going to wallow all I want.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
feel free.
Let's go.
Well, when you say you're
That's
single, when a woman says she's single, it doesn't mean she hasn't got a hell of a lot of options in her phone book. You know what I mean? So
Facts.
yeah, it's different.
right.
It's different for a woman.
I don't at all,
Oh
actually. My
no,
phone book
maybe not
kind
what
of
you
been
want,
slow.
but you definitely got
My phone
options.
book has been decreasing over the years, so
Yeah, I hear ya.
Yep. I'm on
I
monk
hear ya.
mode at the moment, so I can respect that.
yeah.
Yes.
Monk
Hibernation.
mode, sure.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let
it's
it.
necessary.
What's that?
No, I was saying it's necessary sometimes. I mean, we're all social beings supposed to, interact, but with the energies that are out here today, it's like I'm cool. And
Yeah.
just depending on where you part of your timeline you're on in your journey, it's like solitude is necessary in order to, regroup, focus, and get that discernment and those downloads and figure out, which way to wiggle and what to do, what not to, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like monk mode. That's basically celibacy, right? I don't like that.
For-
Yeah.
In the short term.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
I don't like it. I need to have something there regularly that I can at least fucking call and try and make, you know what I mean, or an arrangement to see them.
But that's
or
what family
whatever.
and friends are for.
Not that kind of arrangement.
No, exactly. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it's not.
You need to hook up. You need to
I
hook
mean,
up.
I guess
like,
when it comes
you know.
to that, it depends on the individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I personally don't think it's a priority one. It's not even priority three.
Women are good at being. Women are generally quite good at being celibate. I don't know how they do it. Like I know women that can refrain for years. I don't know how the fuck
we
they
don't
do
know
it.
how we do it either. We don't know how we do it.
We
either,
just
trust
do it.
Yeah, and guys that do that, I'm like, what the fuck are you smoking? I'm like, I don't know how you do it. Not do it. Like
Trill,
I've,
you're
I've,
I
better
mean,
than me,
yeah.
man.
it's all about the pro and con, So the pro and con.
I've heard about the benefits of like guys refraining and stuff like that, and I'm just like, yeah, but it's not easy. Like
It's not
it takes
easy.
some mad dedication, man. Fuck it, hell.
It's not
Very,
easy
very.
like the first year or two, and then after that, it's
What?
cake.
A year?
Good
I was
God.
talking about a month, about a year.
See, I'm going on what about 6-7 months now, and yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. But
Well,
you know
that's
what?
because
There are
you're
benefits
still
health-wise.
in the beginning stage. You have to wait a year or two, then it's easy.
How
Oh,
the
yeah.
fuck? Yeah,
But-
that's just insane. I swear to
Yeah,
God,
my
like that's just
biology's not
nuts.
made like that,
Yeah.
man.
You gotta be like proper Buddha, like to do that
No,
shit. Like,
I just think people are all different. Like, I don't judge anybody for it. I just think people are different. Like me, something that I've discovered about myself, like I have to care about the person. You know, like
yeah,
I understand that we're living in the world where there's like what is that? I keep forgetting all the proper terminologies, but like it's that hookup culture, right? That's what it
Right.
is now. Yeah.
mm,
I totally cool with it. If that's your thing,
yeah,
you know, have fun. Be safe,
yeah,
please.
yeah,
But for
yeah.
me, like I can't like I have to have there's got to be something else there. I can't just be hooking up. I can't do. I
Nah, you
tried.
got
It didn't work for me. It's not who I am.
yeah.
You're
The thing is, look,
you're
if you meet a good guy, like I'm into the hookup thing, right? Like but like because I know that if a woman really likes you, she'll put out, right? And regardless of her standards and her whatever she, you know what I mean, her plan or whatever, she'll
Yeah.
drop that at her hat if she meets a guy that she really likes. Yeah, that's
Facts.
just the way it works. So I basically go for women that really like me, and that when I sense that, when I gauge that, cool, I'm getting in for the kill. And yeah, you know, I make it work because you know what, especially when a woman puts in, yeah, like makes it clear that she likes you and she wants you, she expects you to try to pursue her and get her in that, you know, situation,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
So and if you let her down, like if you don't advance on her, you know, I mean, on her like signals, yeah, that she's putting out there, then you know what, you're basically making her feel bad, and I don't want to make a woman feel bad, you know. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
So does she feel bad
so
afterwards when you no longer told her?
No, she's had the best
No.
sex of her life, and
If
you know,
yeah,
like that's
Oh,
it.
okay.
Like, what's
Okay.
there to feel bad about?
Well, since you
exactly.
put it
Not
Yeah,
that way, like
not after
that's
the act, but if he doesn't pick up on the fact that the runway is open, then
yeah.
well,
Like
since
women,
you
I can
guys put
imagine
it
like
that way,
women
that's
will get pissed off when they look at me and I don't fucking ask them out for their number. They're looking at me, fucking staring at me, and I'm not going up to them asking them out. And they're pretty and everything. I just look at them. I'm thinking to myself, I just can't be bothered. Sorry, you know. But
right.
yeah, you know, because I'm at work.
right.
You know, I'm surrounded by lots of different women, but I just like, you know what? Yeah, I just can't be asked. Fuck it. I want to get my fucking lunch and carry on with my job and go home.
that's
You know
pretty
what I mean?
much me. That's pretty much my mode all the time. So I feel you.
Mm. But I'm missing out, you know. I'm missing out, and I do need to look straight and not look at them because I do. Fuck, I can't help it. I look straight back at them, and you know, yeah, I can't help it. And it's mad, you know. It's like a staring contest.
It
Like it's
is.
like they just like don't
But
fucking look
it's
away, and I'm not looking away, and it's like, what the fuck do I do now? I need to ask her
Oh
out,
my
right?
god!
But I don't. Mad,
like,
it's
damn
mad.
it. Yeah.
Just gonna keep looking at it. Like we're just gonna keep looking
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
It's
yeah. It's insane, but it's
going
almost fun. It's
nowhere.
almost fun. Because I'm in an open relationship, right? So I'm allowed to do this. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is what it is. But fucking mad.
That's what's dope. That's what's dope about your connection. I remember on Bronze Bird's panel the other day, like 2 nights or so this weekend, you were getting
Hmm.
trolled
Yeah,
by like all these trolls.
Oh
Um
yeah.
yeah,
and that's what made me I'm like, okay, you were the one getting trolled from this
That was him.
lady and she was just
Yeah.
and it's like you're you're doing what fits and works for you and your connection, regardless of how it looks to others, whether it's taboo or gasp or anything like that. If who cares what we think?
mm,
Like get her done.
Right.
Like however for
mm.
you guys. Always,
That's it.
Life
trying
is
to
too short.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
Like
like I said, I'm very lucky to meet somebody that like her, and I'm like, you know what, she's game, and I'm like, you know what, I like her even more for it. If anything, like I'll say this, I never said this to her, but I fucking love her more for it. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? Like I won't say the L word until she says it first. Yeah, so I'm waiting for her to say it first.
Yeah, never
You know
say
what I
it
mean?
first, man.
Yeah, trust me. I'm waiting for her to say it. She's holding back hard. She's really good at holding back. But yeah, like, I'm telling you, I
see
want
her
that
lips are
Romeo and
trembling.
Juliet shit. You know what I mean? Huh?
Her lips are trembling. I said her lips are trembling like she wants to say it, won't say
She
it.
wants to give me everything, but she's holding a little bit in reserve because she still thinks that I might leave her, and I told her I'm not leaving you. I'm not leaving you. So it is what it is. Because again, like, it's not all about looks. I can always get a stunning woman, right? But I'm looking for the whole package. You know what I mean? I want a woman that looks good to me,
Right.
that treats me
Mhm.
well, great personality. Somebody that I like. You know what I mean? Generally, all the way, all over. So, and I really do like her. I really appreciate her, and I really and truly think that I can't fuck this up. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, being honest with her totally was a fucking huge gamble, and luckily it paid off. Luckily, I said to her, you know what? While we're dating, while we were single, like, I just told her, look, man, I'll probably see other women. Like, it's not like I don't like other women. Of course I do, and yeah, I kind of want you to be a part of it. And she was like, yeah, sure, why not? I was just like, fucking great. This is brilliant.
Hey, Mona. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining.
that's her. Hello.
Come in. Come sit. Come sit with me. Come on. Hi, cutie. Hi, cutie. Why is it so quiet? Hello.
We're here.
Oh,
Sorry,
I'm,
I
ta-
was
I'm
distracted, and
talking to my dog. I'm just talking to my dog in case you guys are wondering. Who
I
is
was
she
wrenching
kissing?
up Mona. I'm glad Mona could stop by to say hi as well.
Hi, Mona.
Oh,
Big up,
okay, I thought
Mona.
somebody else were in the panel. I was like, wait, hello. Okay.
No, she's
I was like,
she's in
I
the
was like,
she's
hello.
in the chat.
Okay. Hi. But yeah, that's the best thing you could ever. I think that's what okay, I can't say everybody updates do. They say they want it, but then it's like it has too many like habaneros on it sometimes for people. So, but generally, I think most people, I don't want to say just women, but in this case, women would prefer a man to keep it transparent, like crystal clear, like how you did,
Mhm.
Trilla. Like, say what it is, because there's a
Oh,
lot of women out here are with the program. It's just that men or women take that, they take that away from a person by deception. And
Yes.
it's like you
yeah,
could have kept it real in the beginning, and it would have been all good. So
yeah. But it's
it's kind of
not
Well,
always
or,
like
or
that.
you could have kept it real from the beginning, and if it wasn't all good, out of like respect for the partner, like you give them a
right,
choice. Because if a guy that I'm dating would have said that to me, it would have been over. Not because
Exactly.
right,
he's a bad guy. He's not a
Yeah,
bad guy. A, I respect you now that you told me. And B, you gave me the opportunity, adult to adult, to decide what I
yeah,
wanted to do.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
another one of my girlfriends did tell me when I told her, yeah, I'm seeing other women. I only sat with her once, and in probably 8 months,
Mhm.
and I told her like, yeah, of course I'm seeing other women. And she like, well, thank you for telling me and giving me the option of, what I mean, like deciding to
yeah,
stay or leave. Like,
Yep.
it's a
and
respect.
guess what? She's still with me. She's still with me, and
Yeah.
it doesn't always work though. Do you know what I mean? Like my ex,
right,
right? She's a proper jealous person, and like my ex-wife was like, I remember the first month that I was talking to her, I said I had a crush on a celebrity. I think her name was who's that lady from Hunger Games, you know um
oh,
Oh,
what's her name?
I'm not big
yeah,
on celebrities, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. So that, what's her name? Yeah. Anyway, that cat woman. Yeah. So
mhm.
anyway, like I said,
yeah,
I had a crush on her because she was really fucking flexible. Yeah. You know what I mean? And whatever, kind of pretty as well. And
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence, that's the one, yeah. And she fucking got mad at me. She started crying on the phone and everything. I was like, oh my fucking days.
Oh my God.
I'm just talking about a celebrity crush here. But I understood where she was coming from because she was like the kind of girl who's like, well, I'm only gonna look at you like you're the only one for me. and she wanted me
But
to look
that's
at her
something
the
we
same
do
way.
when we're young, though. Like I was
Yeah,
like that
but
when I was young. But don't you like supposed to grow out of that stuff? Like I don't care if you think someone's hot. Like that doesn't. I don't
yeah.
care.
But
Yeah.
everyone's different. Like she had a kiddish mentality. Like she's really good with the books, A-star student, right? You know, really intelligent,
Oh, I
very
know the
beautiful.
type.
But she just had this certain nature about her that was like very kind of kiddish. You know what I mean? Which is really
Yeah,
cute, by
she's
the way.
really good.
Super
She's
cute.
really good with books, not so good with other things. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of immature on the common sense part. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So I learned, you know what I mean, late in life that everyone's different, and you got to cater a little bit sometimes. You got to be a bit flexible, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
There's different
But a
levels.
lot of people don't want to be flexible, and that's where trouble starts.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I learned it's love languages are usually the
yeah.
different. Like,
I
because I
you know
know
what? I kind of dislike the love languages thing because, like, when I read through all of them, I'm like, I'm all of these love languages. That depends on what day you catch me. Like, if my
Is
house
sex
if
is
my
sex one of
house
them?
is a mess, yeah, I would want you to like help me clean up. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
But it like for me, my main love language is sex. You know what I mean? Like
Physical.
We
that's,
get it. We got
you
it.
know, like no, but like I'm just saying, like if
my
that
ex
ain't
is the
if
same
that is
way.
not there, if the effort is not there, then like what the fuck is going on? Do you know what I mean? Like, but generally, I understand for women it might be other things, but some women it's also that. If anything, like there's probably you say yours is all of it, but there
Mhm.
must be a priority. Like some might outweigh others, right? Like what's on
No,
top of
I
that
mean,
list?
there probably is a priority. Like there was, I don't even remember. There was like the top, out of five, there was two that were like a major thing for me. But then like all of them matter because, you know, if it's a quiet, relaxing day, I want touching, kissing, sex, conversation, spending time together. But if it's a busy day and there's a lot of shit to do, I don't want to snuggle with you. I want you to go do the dishes because I'm cooking or whatever, you know?
Right.
But why not say that? You could always tell the person, you know, like
Yeah,
Communication.
exactly. Communication,
yeah,
communication, communication. Always.
yeah, yeah. I would say to women, literally, don't think that men are mind readers. Just tell them what to do, and they'll fucking do it 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
agree. Either that or you
Women
have to tell them what to do and tell them what to do. Tell them what to do and then
Yeah,
they'll do it.
tell them, fucking remind them again. Just just freaking, just
and
say, get off your ass, fucking do it. Otherwise, you ain't gonna get a fucking BJ at the end of the night. So fucking do it.
Right.
Yeah, give them
No,
some incentive.
it's like,
You know what I mean?
you know what? Since you didn't help, I'm sleeping in my room tonight. There you go.
with
Oh
the
no, not the
onesie,
separate rooms.
Oh, I would
with a zip
absolutely would
onesie.
need my own room. Absolutely. I have to have my own space. I will go crazy.
Yeah, no, I can't stand. I could never be with a woman that wants that. Honestly,
I couldn't.
like,
Yeah, I couldn't do
yeah,
a separate room
yeah,
either. I would
No,
yeah.
try
we
to
don't
beat
have
like,
to
that.
have separate.
are you a
No, we don't
Virgo
have to have
or a
separate rooms.
Sagittarius?
Like we'll still have our own room. We'll still have our room, but like I need to have like my own room, like my own space.
Yeah,
Like
but
for
a lot of people might not be able to afford that. That's one thing, right? Secondly, like, you know, you're with somebody, you got to deal with it. Like, even if that guy like me might snore, you get me, yeah, and you might not be able
Yep.
to get some good sleep, like, you're still gonna have to be there and endure that. Or
no,
get some
that's the
earplugs or
magic
something.
about me. I don't have to deal with that. I'll just go to my room.
So what's
Look,
funny
are
is
you a
I was
Virgo or a
threatened.
Sagittarius?
Who,
Who,
V?
me? Me? Are
Yeah,
you asking about me? I'm a Scorpio.
Oh God.
yeah. Let's go. Okay.
My way or the highway, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go with the astrology.
Yeah,
No, it's funny.
Hey, when it
makes
comes
sense.
to
I've never
astrology,
got
we
along
don't
with
know
Scorpios.
much. We barely scratched the surface with astrology, so
Yeah,
I
Scorpios
don't.
are absolutely entertaining and fun, but
yeah,
they're
they got a lot
they
of
can bite
energy.
you.
It
Yeah.
got dark energy as well, though. Yeah. So like,
Yeah, the dark energy would be me having my own room.
yeah, yeah,
I need to have
I'm
my
sure.
Buddha. I need to have my crystals. I need to have all my books. I have a lot of books and I want them in my room. I don't want to share my books with you. I mean, you can ask to
Mm,
borrow one if you want to read something, you know. Yeah, I want
yeah.
my type of
So you
mattress,
need a
my type of sheets,
you need a
my
she
stuff.
shed. You need a she
That's
shed.
yeah.
You need your own little
Yeah, I mean,
she.
men are, it's okay. Like when society speaks about a man cave, that's like a must. But a
Yeah.
female talking about a woman cave, that's not
No,
okay.
Yeah.
That's
that's
fucked
where
up.
Cheryl made it popular with the Cheryl she shed for
What
the
what is
insurance
that?
commercial.
Not the shit. She should. Let's go.
It's a
She,
Yeah.
yeah,
she should.
a little
I
shed,
just
a
want
little
a woman
house that looks
cave.
exactly like
That's
the house,
all.
and she's got her own little porch and everything, and her books, and
Yeah. Well,
That's
I've
no,
totally
I
appreciated
don't
a
need
woman having her
that.
own
Like
space.
my own room
Yeah.
is fine. Like instead of turning like a guest room into a guest room, I'll just take it over. It'll be mine.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, like the not sleeping together thing. Like for me, my parents, right? They have separate rooms, yeah, and I basically never. Again, this is coming back to like what we were talking about earlier, how we're raised and what we see and what we want after, for ourselves. I wouldn't want what
Right.
my parents have. I wouldn't put up with that dynamic. You know what I mean? Like my parents aren't very affectionate in front of us, coming from an Indian background, whereas me, I'm born
Yeah.
in Britain and seeing everybody else around me being very affectionate, I was like, fuck it. Like this is what I want. I don't want something that's cold and conservative. I want something that's more liberal, free and fun, you know?
Yep.
I mean, but honey, that is liberal and free and fun. You having your own
Mhm.
space, I'm having my space, but then we
That
have our
really
space
isn't
together.
that isn't
And
my kind of
when I
liberal.
mean having a
Yeah.
separate room, when I mean having a separate room, I'm not saying like we don't sleep. We are together, but there will be days where we're not gonna want to be together. You're
Yeah.
telling me you're the type of
Yeah.
person that has to be with your partner like every single day?
No, no. I just want a partner that
Okay.
wants to
So if I
be
want to
with
go
me
to my
all
if
the
I want to
time.
go to my room and eat
Yeah.
my snacks and read my book for 2 hours, like
Yeah.
that's not a problem, right?
Yeah, but I want to be the one that goes to my room and has my space, and she can be in the other. I don't want her to go somewhere else. And do you know what I mean? Like, as much as
Okay,
I don't.
but how is that
Yeah.
like correct?
See, the
That's not
thing is,
that's so
there
you
has to
can
be some
have it, but I
like
can't
it's
have it. Like that doesn't make any
no,
sense to
yeah.
me.
Well, the
Hold
thing
on,
is,
one at a
yeah,
time.
it's like I want to be look, I want to have that kind of leadership, that kind of control, or at least that arrangement, that agreement, right, between us. That look, you know what I mean? Do you, I do me, and at the end of the night, we're coming to bed together. Do you know what I mean? And we're sharing a bed together. And like this is why my partner right now is really ideal for me, because she was neglected by her husband, right, by her ex-husband, and like they kind of slept separately, and she thought that she didn't like that. So with me, I was kind of in a that weird situation with my ex where she wasn't very affectionate, right? So I was like, okay, well, I'm very affectionate and she isn't. This is weird. You know what I mean? This isn't working for us. So, we ended
Yeah.
up falling apart.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like with her and me right now, the one I got, it works really well because we were both kind of neglected. We both want the same kind of thing, and it works really well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's good. I think that's important to find people who like won't try to change you, but also compliment you, and it just kind of meshes well together. I think it's a good thing that you found someone like that.
Hmm.
Mhm. Very adaptable, very, very, what I mean? Yeah, well, is what it is. But yeah, like when it comes down to the whole thing about the space, look, I got a mansion, right, in India, and I can totally tolerate somebody having their own space. I'll be like, listen, here's your room, right? Here's my room. And, at the same time, I can always go into her room and like do stuff with her, whatever. And you know what I mean? So I know where she is. So I can understand that. I remember speaking to a woman once who said that I need my own room in her profile, dating profile, right? And I was like, right, okay. I mean, let me entertain this. But she had too many other like things on her list that I just couldn't really deal with. I was like, yeah, you're interesting, but I like you, but yeah, nah, sorry, you're a bit too old. You know what I mean? Too much of a yeah. If she was 10 years younger, maybe, but nah. But I liked her list. I liked that she knew what she wanted. That's not a bad thing, you know. It's not a bad thing. Do you tell
Yeah.
guys that though when you meet them, when you go on a date? Like, I need
Who,
this, I
me?
need that.
Oh, I
Yeah,
haven't been
off
on
the
a
bat.
date in so long. I can't even. I would have to think about that. It's been a very
Yeah.
long time for me.
So I think yeah, it's probably better that you don't tell them that. But if you did, I'll fucking rate you.
No, I will lay it out on the table type of person. So
Yeah,
whoever, if I end up with someone, he's gonna have to be okay that he's gonna have his man cave. I'm gonna have my woman cave, and we're gonna have our room. He's gonna
yeah,
have to be okay with it, and if not, then I don't give a shit.
yeah. Because I find it
How about
intriguing
that?
when I meet a woman who knows what they want and they lay it out on the table and tell me. I'm like, you know what? Fucking, this is interesting. Because a lot of women are quiet; they don't tell you everything. So when somebody does, I'm like, yeah, this is interesting. Okay, let me see if I can work with this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not the quiet one.
Yeah, I was
Mm.
threatened. Back to that whole sleeping in separate room thing. See, I'm a snorer, and I was threatened with having to have a separate room from the girlfriend at the time.
Damn. Like, out of here.
Yeah,
That's all you can say is
that
damn.
that can really like affect our relationship because if I can't
Yeah.
sleep, then I'm grouchy, then I'm moody. I can't function at work. I can't function at home. Nah, I need my
Yeah.
sleep. I don't mess around when it comes to my sleep.
Mm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
Not at all.
I can understand
Or-
that. Yeah.
If we're having a good time at night, then yeah, well, we'll be in a room together. But let's say I got a big meeting the next morning, or you got something like we know that tonight is just not the night. Yeah, I prefer to just go to my room because I know I'll get sleep.
Mm. Yeah, true.
Right.
That
You gotta
sounds
go
fair.
to sleep
It's a
first.
fair arrangement.
What
Yeah.
are you saying, Sunkissed?
No, I was saying you end up trying to race to get to sleep before so that you can actually get to sleep because of the snoring.
Yes, I would never do that again. No. Nope.
Crazy.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. But honestly, like there are some women that won't tolerate it. Like I've dated women and I've fallen asleep at their house, right,
Yep.
or wherever their apartment, their flat, wherever, and they've just not wanted to entertain me after that because they're like, "Oh, you snore," and I
Yes.
was like, "Yeah, so." And like I'm a
I
fucking guy,
snore
yeah, I snore
too.
sometimes. Like, I don't snore all the time, but you know, like honestly, well, yeah, I've heard women snore. I can't put up with that. I'm sorry, but when it comes to me, I'm like, yeah, you have to put up with that.
I
Honestly,
think it's funny
I'm
when women
terrible.
snore.
I am terrible. Like women that snore, no, I'm sorry, it's a deal breaker for me. But yeah, if I snore, you got to fucking deal with it. It's your
Like I'm gonna sound like a jackhammer. However, I don't hear a sound to you, right?
Oh, God.
That's funny.
Yeah, food and sleep. I need that.
See, you, what's funny about astrology is that when people aren't able to resonate like with the traits of sun sign or whatever, it's usually
Mhm.
because there's 12 of them. Like we're made up of 12, so that's why everybody feels a certain kind of way on different days. And like you might say, "Oh, I'm a Scorpio, but I feel like a Taurus," or this and that.
Yeah.
Prior 2 years ago, you couldn't tell me that I would be like up to my neck in astrology, trying to figure out how everything
I
moves,
love
how
astrology.
it is crazy. And the only reason why I'm on it is because I see it play out like times. So it's like before now and getting into the astrology was almost like, okay, it's the horoscope. It's my sun sign and only half of it resonates. So yeah, right. But it's a
Witchcraft.
trip. Right.
it's a conversation starter. It's a really good, like, I like astrology and I bring it up for fun. I don't take
for
it
fun.
seriously. Yeah, I just play around with it a little bit. Straight away, you know what I look at? I'm just always looking at the sex stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is how we're gonna get along sexually. Like, and I always bring that up. You know, like
I
sort
don't
of
think
skip to all the
humanity.
time.
I don't think humanity knows enough about astrology to take it seriously. In my personal opinion. I mean, I'm actually staring at my astrology book right now. Like,
Yeah. Anything taboo usually is what you have to end up like tapping into because it's something that they're keeping away from us. Usually, like how you say they say don't listen to the crazy person, but usually the crazy person is telling some truth.
yeah,
Kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, astrology and astronomy, it's like it goes so back and way back into history. It's like it's older than any religion on this planet. So
It's
but yeah, we
mathematics.
still don't know much about it.
Yep, it's mathematics.
Right.
So it can't be wrong in terms of like the numbers where the stars align, right, and everything else at a certain time and date. It basically, yeah, you know, it's mathematical. You can align it.
Yep.
You could go on
Yep.
Google and align and see what the stars were looking like at a certain like 2,000 years ago. Because yeah, I mean, it's all maths. Mad.
So our existence is based around math.
Yes.
Matrix, man, Matrix.
I think that it does.
Yeah. I think like I'm a big believer in karma, right? And I think that karma
Me too. That's
is
what I
all
always
like
tell people. Like I don't ask me about religion. I'm all about karma. Live by the laws of karma.
Yeah, and I think karma is all numbers, like in the background. Like you see in the Matrix, right? Like that's all karma working in the background. It's all that, you know what I mean, stuff that is happening, like seeing all of the things that we're doing, we're thinking, we're saying, and everything.
Yeah,
like
pure mathematics. It's consequences for actions.
Yeah, so
and
we get
energy
judged
and
on all
vibes
of it,
that you put
know?
out into the universe.
Yeah. So like how we treat people, how we treat other beings, things like that. Like it all matters, you know, why we do things and all that. It's such a like massive complex equation that's all being calculated. And at the end of it, you know, we reap or we sow from that.
Yep.
You know?
Very, very true.
Yeah, I agree as well. So this was a question, Trilla, that I had at the beginning. When you're a young adult and you're in the midst of a cycle of trauma, or you're in the midst of a family curse where no one in the family steps forward to break the cycle, how do you, as a person who becomes aware of it, how do you escape it? Is it establishing those boundaries with the family? Is it relocating yourself and separating yourself from the situation? There's no one answer, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Firstly, it depends on the situation that you're in, the environment that you're in. Like if I come from a particular family which is okay with me moving out, this and that, doing my own thing, I guess it's not an issue me moving out and just, you know, having my space. But generally, with me myself, like I'm the only son out of 6 kids, right? So coming from an Indian background, I have to basically be there for my family and be there with my parents. And my sisters are supposed to get married and move out, right? That's generally their thing. Or whether they want to get married or not, it's up to them, whatever. But their thing is to do their own thing. And they want to stay, they can stay too. But we are supposed to hold down the household, and I'm supposed to take over from my parents. So like, I've had it quite difficult, you know. When I say trauma, I think my mum could be a lot nicer to me, you know, but I've had to just endure it because I feel like, you know, she suffered a lot through her life with some health issues. So I can sympathize, you get me? And I feel like if she's going to take anything out on anybody, it should be me and not my dad. You know what I mean? So not an issue. Like I'm tough enough to endure it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I understand why you might want to have a bit of a rant and a bit of a shout. You know what I mean, at somebody because you're a bit pissed off for whatever reason. So you know what? I understand that. Take it out on me. It takes takes a lot, you know, of patience to deal with difficult people, right?
Right.
But honestly, like if you try to be the better person, you know, anything is possible. You know, like I mean, the world is your oyster, man. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I think we hit on the head earlier. The main thing is that individuals have to realize it and be mentally aware that there is other options, that the world is your oyster, that you can get support if needed to springboard yourself out of a bad situation. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of finding those avenues.
Yeah.
And again, when that helping hand reaches out to grasp hold of it, or when that opportunity presents itself, to not overthink it, but to embrace it.
Yeah, I'll give you a real life situation, right? Like, or story. Yeah, I heard this from Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you know who he is, right?
Yep.
But I like listening to
I like
Jordan Peterson, right?
I like listening to him too sometimes.
Yeah, and he talked about a story about a child, and this child, right? He was, you know, there was this dragon, right? And this dragon, you know, grew bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it got to the point where this dragon was so big, right? It just literally filled up the whole house, right? And only then is when the parents noticed that this dragon was there, you know, because it completely devoured this whole entire this whole house. And but until that time, they never knew that there was a dragon, you know. And what that dragon represents is actually the child trying, you know, the child's problems, you know, like everything that the kid done, right? Like they never noticed that the kid had an issue. Only when the issue became so big, which was the dragon, that's when they noticed, you know. So it's a thing where like it's better to nip it in the bud early, you know. Pay attention to what your children are doing, and even if they're in their, you know, teenage years, early 20s or whenever, right, in their 30s even, whatever, right, depending on what dynamic you have. Like, I think as a parent, you're always going to look at your child as a child, no matter how old they get, and you're always going to want to be there and help them, you know, regardless. So yeah, man, you know what I mean? You never know how life might hit you at whatever age, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean, we said it before. We're born into an absolute world of pain. It's just a matter of, you know, how your life, how you conduct yourself through life.
Mm.
Yeah, as a parent too, it should be more so kind of nurturing what the child's interests are, is, you know, making them or trying to live through them vicariously, or even just trying to dictate how their world is supposed to look because they're my child type of thing. It's like if a parent wants you to be a doctor, but realistically they love art. Some parents will drill the doctor to, you know, that person versus saying, okay, let me take my hands off of it and let me buy you a billion, you know, crayons and, you know, anything for art. Let's just nurture that and throw energy into that so that you be the best artiste ever type of thing. So it's because I think there's a lot of is it tyrant? Is that the word I want? It sounds good right now, but I don't know if that's the word I want. Parents, they forget that they're here to kind of and aid, or not aid, but assist with this, you know, young person growing up. Not a thing where you're controlling your child or trying to create a narrative for your child. I mean, yes, you can give them, you know, guidelines. I think ultimately with that, giving that child the wiggle room or turning off the what is it, the 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 fast seatbelt sign, the captain's turned off the fasten seatbelt sign, you're free to move about cabin type of thing. Then you end up you end up like trying to please your parent, or you might be doing things that they want you to do, but you're not really fulfilling your desires or living your purpose because you're trying to live theirs type of thing. If I'm making any sense.
It makes a lot of sense to me, but it's like I think it works both ways though. Like when it comes down to like my parents let me have the freedom to do what I wanted. I personally would have benefited more, I think, if I had a bit more direction and guidance and being told what to do and being
I was
pushed.
wondering about that. Yeah.
I think I would have been better. So everybody's a bit different. Some kids, given the freedom, they might excel. Other kids need the push and direction more than others.
Is it fair to say, Trilla, that being East Indian, it's typically traditional that you're kind of pushed in or corralled in a direction? It is culturally, because I know like my father kind of held those values, and he's West Indian, Caribbean, but there's a similar element there of secession and a similar element there of guidance, at least in the case of my father. And I'm sure everyone to each his own, but there's that, here's a path, follow this path. This will lead you to success. I expect no less.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the similarities. My dad was a headmaster in India, right? So he was a teacher already. At the same time, he was a businessman when I grew up with him, and he was running the businesses along with my mum. And they were very, very busy. They were working all day, and mum barely had enough time to make food for us and make sure that everything else around the house was done. Cleaning and cooking and all that stuff while going to work. And my dad was working in 2 shops, cash and carry, and then we hardly got to spend time with him, right? So that was the dynamic. At the same time, he expected us to do what we were supposed to do, go to school, get an education. But he neglected the fact that some of us just didn't want to do that. We'd rather fuck around and waste time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so I've obviously learned from that. I've learned that but it's better to be part of 2 worlds. So like what the girl was saying, the Caribbean girl, right? Oh, sorry, what's your name again? The girl that was talking, like, it's good to give a kid freedom to choose, yeah, but you're still the parent. You still got to decide what is best for your child. There's nothing wrong with telling your kid what to do.
I told you sound Caribbean, sun-kissed.
Right. Yeah. Really. You know what? I told that like everywhere throughout my whole life. We're like, where are you from? And I'm like, California. Be like, no, where are you from? What? You have an accent? I'm like, where? But I don't know. I'm gonna have to do
it's
some homework, some real.
Yeah, it's very much the seatbelts. The seatbelts can be unfastened sign. I think that's the way that I lived my life as well, growing up. And my parents divorced too when I was in my teens, so there's that split home, and that's where the structure of child rearing starts to fall apart. And then you gain other, as the oldest son, I gained other responsibilities to assist. So those constraints and blinders of, you must go this path to be a doctor, or you must go this path to be, in this industry. None of that applied. But
I wish I got pushed into being a doctor, dude. That would have been brilliant right now in my life. Yeah. But here's what it is. Now, I pursued becoming an athlete, a sportsman, and that's really hard to break into. Yeah, but I never made it. Didn't try hard enough, and something like that, you have to try really hard.
Yeah, there's other things too that some people are just born for it. I remember when I was in college. I remember sitting in engineering classes, and I'm looking around the room, and these people had a desire in their eyes that I was just not born with to succeed in this industry. I mean, they were ravenous about succeeding in this industry, and I was a computer guy. I was all about the computers. This wasn't the architectural engineering was not my forte.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. I can't sit still, mate. I need to move around. So my job is quite good for me because I'm always moving. I love it. I don't have a boss over me, so it's all right. I mean, I don't get paid much, but again, I don't really care about the money because my family already got that covered.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm glad that I'm doing something I enjoy it, and that I'm in that position where I can afford to do something that doesn't require me to earn a lot. It's great.
And see, healthy, however the word can be applied, or it's healthy. Health is relative, but in the healthy dynamics of a family that is rooted with intention, you provide that for the adult children. You provide a generational wealth that can be passed down, that can be grown, that can be expanded upon, for future generations.
But that's the thing, because like my parents done it because my dad said to me, I don't want you to work as hard as we did. I want you to have a better life, Like otherwise I wouldn't have time to go on YouTube and, do other things in my life, and be a little bit more cavalier with my lifestyle, because otherwise I'll just be like them. I'll be 12 hours a day, every day, working, no days off, to provide. And I would probably have to do that if I never had what I had,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that providing an easier path. So if I had it my way with, starting a family and setting up for legacy, I think it's important to pave the way. I don't know that, if I was a multimillionaire, that I would necessarily give them everything, but they would have a nest egg to start. They would have that nest egg of wealth to start with.
Yeah,
because after all, it is my earnings.
Well, this is the thing. So, like for me, it's not mine; it's my parents, right?
Right.
But like, I mean, like I said, we got millions in property, right? And but we don't have much in the bank, right? Because to get wealth, you have to spend money, right? So it's a thing where though, like I have to maintain all of that, and that might pay off. I might be like, pretty well off in about 5 years, right? Whatever. And I know it's all coming my way. However, I've lived a poor lifestyle my entire life. I'm not the flashy kind of guy. I can be that guy if I wanted to, but the older I get, I feel like, what's the point? I'm happy in my tracksuit bottoms. I'm happy, like, I mean, like wearing, eating simple food and just, not going to fancy places and doing shit like that. It's just the way I grew up, and I've always been like that.
Yeah, and that builds a different type of perspective and respect
I've got
for
that
life.
saving money mentality. Do you know what I mean? Like rather than spending money,
Exactly. All right, panel. We are at like what 2 hours, 2:50. You guys want to hang out some more, or we want to call it an evening?
I don't care either way. Whatever you guys want to do.
I don't know if we're ever going to solve the world's problems. That's never my goal, but just to discuss, and open people's minds to opportunities and what lies beyond the 4 walls that they live in.
Straight. Still admirable to do that. Even that, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't have the courage to even do that. So.
Yeah, and something else that we've talked about on a few different panels I've been on as well, there is this overwhelming reality TV element to social media and to content creators, and they're putting masks on. They're operating behind a false pretense. They're operating behind a falsehood. What good is that? Like what does that? You're either building or destroying something in life, and that seems more destructive than productive to me.
You mean like an avatar or protecting your true identity? I think it's not a bad thing. I think if anything, you could be more productive by preserving who you are because of the world we live in, there could be, severe repercussions, in terms of people trying to get you to lose your job because they disagree with you, or try and impact your life in other ways, because they don't like you. I think it's important, I completely respect people that want to keep their anonymity,
Yeah, and I think, well, to add to that though, the messaging is more so of what I'm getting at here. The message that you're sharing, and how you're sharing it, I think is also key.
Yeah, but not everyone's going to agree with it. They might not
Very
like
true.
the way you deliver your message or your message. So that's what I'm saying. Anonymity does matter. So people have every right to be afraid, of the consequences for just speaking your truth.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's not made for everyone.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Okay. Yeah. The and the false pretenses in terms of what? I think I missed the first part of that.
In terms of messaging, in terms of what you're putting out into the world.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like, for me, I'm thinking, or my thoughts on it is, society or the whoever these people are, they want to keep us codependent, and as a, like, say, emotional independence, or just independence in itself, like being codependent, everything, basically wanting us to outsource for validation, happiness, stability, whatnot, whatever, and kind of scattered, and preoccupied and distracted, and conflict, whatever, with this media, social media, just the stuff that we take in, each day have to face, and it's like more people should try at least to go within. I think I want to say, like, with meditation. So my idea of meditation was, you have to be in again, it has to be, the candles lit and the om and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like meditation is just being present in that present. You know what I mean? Like being present in your present. So some people that say, for smoke weed, meditating when you do the whole process, splitting the blunt and breaking it, and that's meditation, because you're present in your present. You could be meditating while you do dishes. You could be meditating while you have sex. You could be, you know what I mean? So I think if people had a different idea on some things when it comes to spirituality, or even just tap into yourself and animal, all that stuff, they had a different idea what it meant, or how to achieve it, even maintain it, more people probably catch, at least try it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Meditation,
more balance, then it would. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, V.
Oh, I just said, I was just agreeing, saying, yeah, because meditation leads to thinking, and thinking leads to self-awareness.
An awareness of situation, awareness of energies around you.
Yeah.
Right.
So that leads to mental health. That leads to, yeah, I'm a proponent of good mental health. I'm a proponent of meditation. I'm a proponent of therapy, or finding someone to talk to, however that looks for you. It's
like
good
talking to total strangers.
What's that?
And sharing everything with. I like talking to total strangers and sharing everything with them. Almost like, because I just know that we're probably never gonna
speak again. But it's weird online because it's all being recorded, and it's almost like it's a bit of a taboo thing. It's like, oh, I'm telling all my deepest kind of secrets that I wouldn't tell the closest people in my life to, but I would tell people online, and it's being recorded forever. Too.
That
It's like a risk.
Yeah. But the perspective of talking to a total stranger that you're only going to interact with for a short period of time, that was part of the attraction that I had to therapy. And I can't. It's hard to even say. Well, because of the atmosphere, because of the individual who I interacted, the counselor I interacted with to talk to, because of what he brought as a clinical therapist, it was a completely different experience, and it was more like just hanging out with someone that was a stranger that you could talk to. It wasn't a taboo experience. And the other side of it too is he believes in, he practices meditation as well. So there were other perspectives that he had to offer other than, here, lay on this couch, tell me about your childhood. Oh, it's your mother's fault, go on about your day. There was more to explore there with him, and there was more to discuss. And the guy was a nerd. The guy was on my wavelength mentally about life and intellectual pursuits and computers and hobbies and whatever else, and sci-fi, and so there was more to talk to the individual about than just here's all my traumas, here's all my woes.
You got lucky though with that particular psychiatrist, counselor, whatever, right? Like generally, that said, I'm an Indian, right? So like I'm a little bit cheap. I'd rather just, if I'm thinking to myself, if I'm just going to talk to somebody about my problems and pay them to do that, why the fuck not just do it for free to a random person? Like, it seems a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Thank goodness for good insurance, but yeah, exactly.
What did you?
Yeah, I was thinking about.
How did you know if? I mean, obviously, you guys had enough in common in order on the same wavelength, but like, do you have any like tips on how someone would choose the appropriate clinical therapist? People, they might be paired with the wrong person and then just get on it and say, yeah, I knew I was going to do it, or they just may not realize, like, yo, you have to kind of pick and choose or feel your way through, see who's what, or like, do you have tips on how to find?
Everything takes work. Every relationship takes work. Everything does. Okay, so
you have to keep shopping around, right?
Yeah, and it may be advantageous to look at things the way the Trilla does, where it's just a perfect stranger kind of situation. You dump it, you go on about your life and move on. But there's in the case that my approach was, I shopped around and I interviewed. My first meeting with anybody that I'm being counseled by my doctor, a referral from my doctor to a specialist, whoever it is, our first meeting is not my appointment with you. Our first meeting is your appointment with me. And I'm interviewing you because I will be paying your bills for a service. And I expect that service. Yeah. And I expect that to fit what I need. My first, my physician, for instance, I met the guy over 10 years ago. But my first experience with him was, hey, I'm here to talk to you about building a friendship that's going to last through my senior years. And the guy's almost my age. The guy's a little bit older than me, but we're around the same age. And I'm like, I'm looking to build a relationship with a doctor that's going to lead into my senior years until you hand me off to someone else to take care of me in my latter ages. I'm looking to build a relationship here with you. I'm looking to you for advice for my health and well-being. So what can you offer me, and how can we proceed together to make sure that this is the right path for me? I think I had heard that a long time ago, that that's the approach that someone should have. And I'll tell you what, the counselor I talked to, he was quirky. He was extremely quirky. And I can't say that I wasn't I can say that I was turned off initially because his own personal quirks didn't appeal to me, and his personality seemed a little off, but it was just his nature. It was just him getting over his own nervousness and him getting over his own, like, he's another human. So I had to understand,
Right.
okay, even though this guy's the person I'm going to be sitting here talking to, he's got his own things going on, but that's not distracting from the fact that there's so much more in this relationship that he's offering me as a confidant. And it
Mhm.
became a natural vibe then. It became, I was like, okay, so, I mean, someone might have a tick or whatever, that you get over it. But this the main thing that mattered was the fact that our relationship and the vibe that we had for my mental health was in the right place. For what I needed to dump, what I needed to talk about, what's the Reddit thread everybody goes to? Am I the asshole? AI, whatever it is. Am I the asshole? And you're all, people are always putting this stories in. I was at my sister's wedding and I slept with the groom. Am I the asshole? Kind of thing. So I'm always looking like, those life. That was a horrible example, but as I go through life, and I in an interaction or something, and I get a little angsty about it, and I run off at the mouth, and I slam somebody with a couple cuss words, and then I'm thinking, like, was I the asshole in this? Was I wrong for the way I responded to this? And I hit up my guy, and I'm like, hey, look at this situation. In respect to everything that you know about me, am I losing it here, or is this a realistic response? Was this a worthy response? Being able to have a sounding board is an awesome thing. It's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I,
it's all about
uh,
building that relation. I believe, it could be different for each individual, but I believe it's you interview them first, you figure out where they're at. Are you just here to cash a check, and you make me wait an hour and a half when I got a boo boo, and only to see me for 10 minutes, kick me out the office and charge me
Yeah.
$200.
Yeah.
but looks matter too. Like
Yeah.
I went once, and I just had a breakup with my ex, yeah, and I wanted to talk to somebody through, because I knew I was depressed and shit like that, and I thought I need to talk to somebody, and then I very quickly learned this shit ain't gonna work for me, because first my counselor, the first person I went to, didn't pay as much, but you get what you pay for, and she was like, she looked like she never had a relationship in her life, and I was just like, yeah, I don't think I could talk to this woman about this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, she's not gonna relate to what the fuck I'm gonna lay on her,
Right.
and
Right.
and on top of that, counselors can only tell you and do something in the constraints that they're trained to do in
Yeah.
they've got
Right.
a certain thing. They can't. That's why I prefer to talk to random people, whoever, because they don't have any constraints.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah.
agree with that.
There
Yeah.
are there are constraints. There's their methodology, that
Yeah.
robotic nature to counselors and doctors. Something else I also suggest, and it's only, again, this is strictly just my own perspective, anecdotal. Um, Stick with your sex, and I know that may sound taboo or weird or whatever in this day and age, but there are certain things a woman is not going to be able to address that a man goes through. I mean, her balls never dropped.
Right.
And there's things that a man is never going to understand that a woman's gone through.
Right. Right.
He's never grown a pair of tits, so there's a division there that may be key for proper advice to come from someone of the same sex, and there may be more of a vested interest in that relationship. Some people are destructive for the sake of just being destructive and not providing a complete picture to someone. I had for instance, I had a very bad health scare. I had a female doctor the entire time. Come to find out, she didn't know what she was doing. And I could
Oh,
have,
that's
and this was as a result of a surgery, and I could have, taken legal actions and legal measures and this, that, and the other. I was unfortunately ill-advised not to, but there's certain things, even when it comes down to just, regardless of if you're a medical professional or not, and you've gone through these years of training, There are some things that are just better left to the opposite sex, to your assigned sex, as in, you know, that doctor or that
Yeah.
therapist. It's not to, again, it's not to be sexist or anything like that. It's just stating my experience and what I would advise other individuals.
That makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd rather talk to a really pretty woman about my issues, but you know, whatever. It's just me. Because you know, I might have a chance with that at the end of it. You know, it's hopeful.
I get it. I get it.
I agree with you regarding like.
You're so funny. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I agree with what you said about like psychiatrists and like based on books and stuff like that, because one of my friends at the time, she was finishing school and we've known each other for a very long time, and we went out to eat and I was talking to her about possibly getting like shopping around, finding someone, and she said, V, she's like, as well as I know you, you'll never find anyone like that will connect with you the way that you're looking for. She was like, the way that your mind works and the way that you look at the world, it just she was basically telling me if I'm gonna look for someone, I do need to find someone who's just not gonna care. And I'm like, well then what's the point? Like if we can't, if like she's the reason why I chose not to seek to get a psychiatrist and have someone to talk to and stuff. Because I'm like, well, if I'm that fucking weird that no one can relate to me, then what's the point?
You know, one thing too, I did not go and see, I forget to leave, I leave this detail out. I did not go to a traditional psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, counselor. I went to a alternate counseling organization, kind of like a situation ran by men and women who delve into meditation and light therapy and sound therapy and alternate therapies. So that's why it was I kind of emphasized it wasn't just like this situation where you're laying on the couch and you're just doing an information dump, and then they, you know, they look down a chart and they assign a issue to you, and then that's it. So there was a lot more. It was more of like a holistic healing center, and there were men and women there, which was the other piece. Of multiple different ethnicities. So it was an alternative to just the clinical setting, the typical sterile clinical setting.
Like that needs to be the go to that whole, because of the healing aspect, with, you know, the way you can practice. Like I say, spirituality is like, I say, spiritual hygiene, kind of like personal hygiene. Brush your teeth every day, build up and yuck mouth, right? So it's like the same with the and balance, you know, meditation. If you don't do this regularly, you're going to be chaotic in your spirit, restless. So you know, to think that, you know, they have that the therapy with the mission on, okay, here, this is what you can do, this is how you can do it and apply to things. Instead of, like you said, okay, your mom was a problem and yeah, your situation sucked. Now that we got out the way, go see and write out my check.
Write out my check, or here's some pills.
Oh yeah, they love that. Here's a prescription because we have a partnership with Big Pharma.
Yeah, and
right.
and yeah, you're absolutely right. It's I think it should be more of a widespread thing, Sunkiss, because and you know, there's always that. For me, religion has always been a challenge, and you know, that stems from my mother falling away from the church after the divorce and everything, and then my own questions about faith and spirituality as I've gotten older, and exploring different religions and appreciating what all of the religions of the world have to offer. And it came down to a point where more align myself with being agnostic, but appreciating the base values that are out there. And there was a definite I definitely pulled some spiritual healing from my sessions as well, because we also explored different practices within religions to heal. There's different ways of looking at things, and it's a very unique experience. It's a very unique setting, but it was very beneficial for me in the long run. And like I said,
Sounds like
I still got the guy's
sounds like a
number.
fucking mix.
I hit him up whenever I feel like I'm an asshole, just to make sure I'm centered.
Yeah. Like, am I
Well,
an
that's
asshole?
that's a good thing.
Well,
That
see,
you
why
have
why do you
someone like
need
that.
somebody to tell you that what you're doing is right? Like, I don't really do that. I just, like I said, I just unload on people and whatever, and that's it. Like, I don't really look for their validation, generally speaking.
I think
It's
he means
always
like just
nice,
someone to talk
but
to.
Yeah, it's not
yeah,
a
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not an every
like,
move I take,
kind of,
every breath I take kind of thing.
yeah,
The more complicated dynamics in the past, and it's not. I haven't talked to the guy for over a year, over 2 years maybe. But
yeah,
it would at the time, and like you said, you felt a little off, you felt a little depressed, you could feel things were changing emotionally,
yeah.
and for those moments, there was always this doubt that um, being lost in your own thoughts too much, second thinking yourself, a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Yeah, but for me, like, YouTube helped me massively, dude. I just basically listen to other people talk about narcissism and talk about relationships and this and that and toxic relationships, all this shit. I was like, right, I'm not the only one. Oh, okay, I understand now. This is like, normal. So I get it.
Yes,
Like, all right.
that's how I
I'm
stumbled
like,
across it.
okay, I wasn't like, yeah, fuck. But then I understood that so many other people, and the main thing is when people are depressed, yeah, I think Andrew Tate said this, yeah, something like,
Hmm.
and a lot of other people have said this stuff as well, but like, come on, like, there are so many other people that would love to fucking take your depression and every fucking other thing bad in your life and fucking roll with it, being
Right,
in your shoes,
right.
like, we could be far worse off than, the situation we're in. So let's start appreciating that and look at the people that have fuck all going for them. You
And
know
that's
what I mean?
where that
I
that
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. That I always eat, no matter what I go through, I always keep in the back of my mind that there's many people out there that are going through something far worse, but it still doesn't mean that you should dismiss you feeling like shit.
there's
You
the
should take care of yourself too,
yep, there's the thought experiment. There's the thought experiment. Does the feeling, did you think up the feeling, or does the feeling have your, it does the feeling, hold on, did you have the thought, or did the thought capture you?
It
Did
could
you
be
have,
both.
yeah,
It's a really tricky one, dude. Like, I met a woman that, about 6 months ago, that lost her husband, no, sorry, lost her partner and her two kids, while they were, born. So, like, in the same year, she lost the person that loved her a lot, and her two kids, basically, that were just born, because whatever, they died at birth. And she basically, I swear to God, you meet her, you never would have guessed that. Very
hmm,
sturdy, very resilient, very sound, but she opened up and she told me, I still meet her and see her or whatever. And I feel like, you know what, like, sometimes you meet people, yeah, like, and it's like God knows that you're the right person to help this person on their journey at this time
Yeah.
and moment. Do you know what I mean?
right,
And
Yeah.
I keep them, and, like, around, and, like, I basically, she told me that just like a month ago, and I was like, right, okay, all right. So then I thought I saw her in a different light when she told me that. I was like, shit. You know what I mean? I understand, like, she's going through a lot. I'm not going to take advantage of it, but I
right.
feel like I still need to be there for her and help her in
Yeah.
whatever way I can until she's ready to do whatever she wants after me. Do you know what I mean? Whatever. So yeah.
That puts that tape selection in perspective, with about depression and everything. There's somebody else who would gladly have your depression and pain. You
Yeah.
never know what you don't know what somebody else is going through, but at the same time, learn to
Dude,
deal
I
with
would
it.
be fucked up if I fucking lost the person that I loved and 2 kids in the same year. I'd be fucked up.
I'd be
I'm
fucked.
telling you, bro.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially as
I would never be the same.
yeah, especially and well, just relatively speaking, as old as I am, without not having kids or nothing yet, and then getting to the point where that I would accomplish that and embrace it, and something tragic happened. Yeah, I'd be fucked.
That's but like
And
Shalud,
that says a lot.
You were placed in her path for a reason, So
that's it.
to help
Yeah.
her, on her journey or for your journey, for what I mean, it may
That's it. Yeah,
reveal itself why the thing.
that's it. Helping each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she really appreciates me being in her life, and I appreciate her being in mine. And like, I just like, this is why I try to explain to my chick here, like, why, like, seeing other women for me is kind of important, because I felt like I met a lot of women, and I've just, felt like every connection that I made, every person that I meet in life, whether a
Mhm.
woman, whatever, yeah, like, I just feel like it's all meant to happen. Do you know what I mean? And it's a reason for it, whether I engage with
Yeah.
them or don't, like, it's up to me, but we cross paths for a reason. And
You
in
know,
our religion, it does say something like how, if you do cross paths with somebody, and there are billions of people in this world, right? But if you
mhm,
do cross paths with somebody, more than likely you've crossed paths with them in a previous life, because I believe in reincarnation, right?
mhm.
I think that's amazing.
Mhm.
Like, as a human before, or maybe as some other form, you've definitely met. And I'm like, damn, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know
that
what I
is
mean?
that is amazing, and I think too. I mean, it all goes back to the energy that we put out, right? Like even old relationships, the vast majority of the women that I've been involved with, even if there were difference, whatever the difference was, obviously 'cause we're not together, but whatever even beyond the differences, um, we remain friends in some way or another. And in one particular case, um, an ex has a son who's grown up, and he has some difficulties, learning difficulties and whatnot. And there's a lesson there for me. There's something there for me, and there's something there for him as well, because we've we've kindled a relationship as men now. He was a very, very, very young child when I met the mother, but now as men we've rekindled a relationship, and I help him. I help provide a sense of stability to his life, and I listen to his thoughts and feelings as he grows, as he's entered manhood, and he has his brothers and things, but there's always those satellite individuals who matter in those moments where you don't have immediate contact. And yeah, it's a good feeling to be able to provide that kind of relationship to
Yeah.
someone. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, that's dope.
Hmm.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, because it's just mad. Like, the situations that you're in, you just make the most of it. And
Hmm.
one time, I'm like seeing one woman, and she had some kids, whatever. One of them started knocking on the door, while I was with, my chick, whatever, that woman. And like, obviously we had to stop what we were doing. And kid wanted to come in. Mum was like, "Oh, what's wrong?" She's like, "I can't sleep, this and that." She's about 6 years old. You know what I mean, little girl. And she was like, "I want you to read me a book." And she pulled out a book. Mum was like, "Oh, don't want to do it." Yeah, she's like read the book about 100 times, right? I was like, I get it. You know what I mean? So I was like, look, I ain't never read this book. Let me read this book to you. I mean, never met this kid in my life, right? Just,
Hmm.
she introduced me as a friend, whatever, and I just started reading the book to her. And I ain't read a book to a kid in a long time. And honestly, I just felt like, and she just knocked out, after I just read it. Might be my boring voice, whatever. But, like, yeah, she just knocked out. And that was like, that's it. She just took her back to bed. And like, yeah, but it's nice to do nice things for people, You don't have to be completely selfish, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
selfless, Just find the
Yeah.
balance. You know
You
what
have
I
to
mean? Just be nice.
right, exactly. I have to balance my villain era somehow.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think we all end up meeting like with energy and it being fluid and frequencies. You don't really meet a person unless they share frequency, whether that's high or low. So it's kind of like you can tell with people like with me, I don't have a lot of people around me. Um, I know that I'm pretty good, but you can tell like with a person, or a person can see based on who they're surrounded with, what energy or frequency they are actually shooting, regardless of what they say. So if they're around a whole bunch of messy people, I'm not messy. I'm not messy. It's like all guys are messy, so you're messy too. You know what I mean? Or like if you are in a connection and you meet somebody and say they are jealous or they have some sort of trait that stands out, most likely it's within you too, because you guys are meeting. You're on the wavelength. Like you can't be on a high frequency and meet somebody low and actually connect. I mean, you can meet that person, but as far as the connection is concerned, so it's like tuning into that kind of. I think I went off topic, but tuning into that kind of thing is is a good idea because it gives you a sense of who's around you or not to have around you. Like,
Yeah.
so okay, for example, like Trilla, how you found the lady that you're with. You guys are on the same frequency, on the same wavelength. That's why you guys, mesh together so well, as opposed to a different female.
Scarily well. Little bit like, when you think it's too good to be true, and
Yeah.
everything that is never is. So, and had a
Yeah.
couple arguments, or she's cried a couple of times when I've talked to her. I was like, for fuck's sake, I'm just trying to talk to you nicely, and you're freaking crying because you don't like a couple of things I've said. I've tried to console her during that. I'm like, for fuck's sake, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, you know what? It's a bit of a relief because I know this ain't fucking perfect now. This is brilliant. You know what I mean? So it's kind of good.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, listen, we got to work through this shit. Yeah, we're not going to be, you know, like completely freaking agreeing on everything. There are going to be times where we disagree, and it's just you got to realize that when I'm talking to you, it's like, you know what I mean? Like you got to understand. I'm not trying to hurt you. I don't want you to cry. I don't want to upset you. I'm going to be a little bit, forward sometimes, with my views, and it might come across a bit cold, but
My friend,
understand. I just want the best for both of us.
let
I'm
me
not
tell you what
leaving. Yeah.
happened over the summertime. I was dating a girl that threw the whole man away because of that situation like that. And no one was right.
Like,
No one
what,
was
what happened? What happened?
no one was correct in the situation. All we needed to do was talk about it and figure out where we stood. But some lines had been crossed that I was curious about. So, on a vacation, anonymous, girl I had been dating for about 6 months, and it got to the point where we were on we were kind of on doing like a night on the town kind of thing, and for some reason in another city where there's plenty of nightlife and rooftop bars and all kinds of things to do, we decided, or it was decided, um, by the matriarchy, that we were going to go to a dive bar to sing karaoke. So so we ended up at the dive bar. Um, but the problem there was a lot of intoxication, and she was basically occupying time and space of another gentleman. Um, so that aside, she drank too much, got sick the entire next day. Then the last day that we were on vacation, we're on the beach, and flights got canceled, and then flights got rescheduled, and then flights got canceled, and then flights got rescheduled. And I got upset. And I'm like, holy shit, probably 20 or 30 expletives. And I'm like, I'm looking at my phone, cussing about the airlines, and they're dinking me around. They got me spending a day halfway across the United States, just only come back across the United States to where I live a day later. And it was extremely inconvenient and stressful time. Well, in my humble opinion, there were two ways of this that the woman who I had known for 6-7 months at that point could approach the situation, and she could say, boy, I've never seen you in that I've never seen you cuss like that and behave like that. You okay? Put a hand on my shoulder and comfort me, and then everything's fine. Or
Right.
you can completely do a 180, turn your back on me, separate yourself from me at a distance, and then when I ask what's going on, you snap at me to say, there's nothing that we can do. We're on the beach. So there's two approaches there. So, I mean, look, I'm a guy. I'm a little blunt at times. I'm free to say cuss word. I say cuss words when I feel like it. I'm not abusive, and I'm not going to direct them toward a person. I'm frustrated about a situation that I didn't remove myself from, and take the high road emotionally on. I didn't. That's fine. So if anything, that was my flaw. But yeah, threw the whole man away because I said cuss words on the beach. Never mind her transgression 2 nights before when she was blackout drunk.
Yeah, right. You wasted a whole day. That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it
can't
wasted
take
a whole
it
day with
personally.
alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, you can't take it personally. Like, yeah, like I say this to other people, dude. Like, it's just your turn for that time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Always be ready to move on. You know what I mean? That goes for everybody. But like, yeah, you might not be the type to discard so quickly. I'm not, generally.
Right.
But I do find that a lot of women are. I've been with freaking hundreds of women, dude, and I'll tell you what, majority of them are ready to move on at a fucking moment's notice. You know what I mean? Some of them just have you for a night, and they fucking that's what they want. They're happy with that, and they're ready to move on to the next one. Like, you just got to appreciate, dude, the world we live in. And just be ready for it. You know what I mean? Just don't expect everything. Like, my thing is, I don't expect anything, dude. You know what I mean? And I'm never disappointed. And it does take away a little bit from life, because generally we do have expectations. When I don't, honestly, I'm not disappointed, and I'm like, cool. You know what? As much as I like you, yeah, no big deal. You can go. I ain't gonna fucking care. It takes time to be like that. It is not easy.
It does.
I was never like that before.
It does.
I mean,
I wasn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were, like I said before, there was like the rose tinted glasses. I was always riding with.
Yeah.
And sucker for love and sucker for romance and chivalry and the whole bit.
Yeah, man. I'm all for that Romeo and Juliet thing, man. Trust me. Yeah. Trust me. That's it. If you die, I die. That's it. We're going together.
We're going together.
No, thank you.
Right. I like too, though, with these women that I feel like a lot of us have adapted to as opposed to really just want to be that meh life. Sure, a lot of it might be of those expectations. Like, I had so many of those, and I don't know why my last relationship, and I realized that expectations aren't for people; they're for results, for a project or a goal, but they're not really for people, because there's free will. So how can you expect anything from someone without, like, you're automatically setting yourself up to be disappointed, expect from somebody external.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like, you don't have control over anyone. So I expect you to, not disrespect me and this and that. And it's like, that person might really be like, oh yeah, well, let me go ahead and disrespect you just because you're trying to tell me not to, that kind of thing. But I know for me, expectation for people at all.
But it's important not to sabotage your opportunities with other people by thinking negatively. Do you know what I mean? Like you might meet somebody
Yeah.
who is really fucking good for you, and because you've just had a
Right.
shit experience with other people, don't fucking don't like hold it against them. Do you know what I mean? Like honestly, like I see a lot of women do it generally. I do it, you know what I mean, to an extent, because like again, I've just not been in a really fucking good relationship before, you know what I mean? Until I was in, you know, until I have been and seen how good some women can treat me, I'm like, fucking hell, I missed out. This is what it's supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be all fucking headache and bullshit. It's like fucking hell. I've been missing out for years. I mean, yeah. Oh, keep the door open, man.
I've heard rumors about relationships like that.
What's that?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the Bermuda
Yeah.
Triangle, right?
I keep hearing in due time, in due time.
It's kind of like what is it, the third law of karma, to attract what you are, not what you want. So whatever it is you literally want, you have to be first, so that will, you know, be a magnet to you. So
Yeah.
it's like you're, you know, if you are a low vibration, like, I want to be with someone that, you know, just makes me happy and blah 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 blah, but it's like you're not gonna find you know, you meet, but you know, you're gonna find somebody else that is on that frequency, because you attract what you are versus what you want. So
You
Kind
have
of,
to know
but
how to make
people
yourself
can mask
happy.
it. Yeah, people can mask it. You know, that depression, they can hide that for a long, long time. Like the narcissism, they can hide it for a couple of years, and then you see it, and then you're like, oh, this is who you really are. Oh, okay, makes sense.
Covert, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, coverts are the worst, man. My ex was a covert. Oh my lord, but
Yours
I tried to deal with it. Huh?
I said yours too. Go ahead.
Yeah. My ex was a proper covert, like playing the victim, always acting innocent, but she was the problem. Like, and always making me think that I was the problem. I was like, for fuck's sake, it was just confusing as fuck. Always moving the goalposts, you know. Couldn't do anything right. Whenever I did, you know, it was always like not acknowledged. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I got with other women, they were like, fucking, you're a great guy. Your ex was fucking stupid for leaving you. Yeah, tell me about it. You know, tell me more.
No. Exactly. Let's talk over dinner. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a relationship or two like that. I think the vast majority of my relationships, though, were just timing. I think it was just a timing thing. I think it was a growth thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine was a great lesson. I would never take it back, dude. I would take it. I would do it all again and again. Honestly, I just love the fucking challenge. I don't know what it is. Like that having that toxicity is a little bit addictive. I'm not gonna fucking lie. Yeah, yeah.
You are
I
dipped
swear.
in air sign. Are you an air sign?
No,
Me.
I'm a Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn. That's fine.
Capricorn.
Yeah, worldly pleasures, man. Yeah, worldly pleasures.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm Taurus, so my cousin.
Oh, same. So my current chick is a Taurus. Yeah,
Let's
she's a
go.
Taurus.
Let's go.
She's an earth sign as well. So we sync a lot. You know, we got a lot in common, Tauruses and Caps. But Tauruses are a little bit. They're very affectionate. Like she's very affectionate. Like she's very on the kind of, yeah. You know, she likes it a bit more. She needs that kind of certain kind of attention. You know, being a bit more passionate. She likes the passion, whereas me, I'm a little bit aggressive. You know what I mean? So yeah, I need to slow down a little bit. I just forget to. Can't be bothered.
Nah, she likes it. It's very hedonistic. We live and breathe 5 senses. So that's how we operate. We are built with the 5 senses. We love it all. So smell, taste, you know, all of that. Fighting, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we will love the hell out of you.
I can do all of that. I can do all of that. And really, it doesn't take a lot of effort. I just fucking, when you know you don't have to do it, and they'll still appreciate you. It's like,
Mhm.
it makes you a bit lazy.
right. It's like I can get away with it. Yeah. But I mean, like I said that other night, you're living in your truth. So, hey, it's good.
Mhm.
It is all good.
But see, what I do is I set the bar low so that I can always go higher and higher. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I never start high because then I'm just gonna have to always stay at that point. Do you get me? So even if I start at a certain point that might be a little high, I still go a little bit low. So whenever I do something nice, it's like wow. Like the other day, I bought her a freaking. She mentioned to me one time she wanted a bicycle. I kind of like asked her a few questions or whatever, and like she said she wanted a bicycle, and I was like, all right, cool, with a basket, right? I was like, so one day I was just hunting around and got paid, and I was like, cool, you know what, I want to do something nice for her, and I found a really nice bike. It was about $500, right? Bought her it, and went to her house midnight and just sort of snuck it in the house while she was in the kitchen making me some food. And I told her, can you go check if the door's locked? I think I didn't lock it. She's like, cool. She went to go check, and freaking, it was like a brand new, beautiful, dusky pink bike was there. You know what I mean? Like it's a good quality one as well. And she fucking loved it, you know what I mean? And she's well over the moon 'cause she's not really used to getting gifts, And
Right.
you got to appreciate, I traveled 2.5 hours to go and see her because that's, she lives far away. She's got her own house in the country, even though she works in London out from my mum's house. But, like, yeah, it's mad. So, I make an effort when I want to make an effort. And I know how to surprise people when you know what I mean? If I
Yep.
need to. So, yeah. But it's nice doing nice things for nice people,
Yeah. It's rewarding. It's rewarding.
Yeah, it's nice. That's like I haven't done something that nice for somebody for a long, long time, so it felt good as well doing something like that.
Sunkissed, you back? Your signal looks a little off. It looks like you have a low signal. Okay, she'll reconnect. But yeah, it does. It's rewarding. It's definitely rewarding making someone feel good.
Yeah. Like I said, because I set the bar low, and then I went and done something like that, bought her an extravagant gift, right? Like like I said, and if one like she didn't expect it, even though she spent quite a bit on me this Christmas, I was like, yeah. I mean, those are the kind of people that really, really need it. You know what I mean? That deserve it, if anything. Even though she's, got more cash to me, whatever. You know what I mean? Going on our wages, whatever. But like, yeah, it doesn't matter, You want to
Right.
do things for people like, you want to go out your way for people that, whether it be your friend who's a dude or freaking a girlfriend, you know what I mean? Whatever. Like you do things for people that mean a lot to you,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's natural. It's natural. It's natural desire. Sunkiss, you with us yet? No. Okay. Anyway, we'll just wait for her to chime in when she gets her speaker going, her microphone going.
Mm.
Oops. Yeah, the chat's been having the stream's been having technical issues. I don't know if they did an update or something weird on their side, or who knows.
No. Bro, it's been lovely being here. I need to get some sleep. It's mad time out here. So
Not a
yeah.
problem. I'm probably going to end the stream shortly. But Trilla, man, it was an absolute pleasure having you here. Any last words, man?
I just love being here, man. Love your female company as well, man. They're awesome. So yeah, big up to everyone here, man. I mean, and yourself.
Have a
Yeah.
good evening.
Have a good evening,
You
man.
too.
Thanks for stopping by. Look out for future streams, and I put out content every now and then as it strikes me. I looking at relationships this month, trying to stay away
Oh,
from the
dude, that's my
dating.
topic, bro. That's my topic. Shit. So, telling you, relationships, dating, love, romance. I fucking love it, mate. Narcissism, fucking psychology. Yeah, I'm on it. I
Nice.
mean,
Nice.
yeah.
I'd love to have you back, man. Look out for the streams.
All right, bro. Big up. Take care. Peace.
Big ups, man. You too. Miss V,
Yes.
what's up?
Nothing, just listening to you guys.
It's the end of the stream. Thank you so much for coming. Killer Swag. Now you show up, man. We about to end. What you doing? How you doing? Sunkissed, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the panel. Thank you very much for coming. We had a good conversation tonight. We had a good conversation. This was actually the first bigger panel. I mean, 4 guests. That's record breaking right now. Yeah, I saw you on Sweet Melody Media. I saw you on there, man. My stream started like 30 minutes after hers went live, so I figured I would just rock out and get some things off my chest and get the topic addressed and start my month of February with my live streams tonight. But I hope the stream went good for you. I'm gonna catch that on a replay. So yeah, Killer Swag is one of my peoples. Um, I see him everywhere across the YouTube sphere. So yeah, definitely like and subscribe to like his content and subscribe to his channel as well. But yeah, V, it is the end. And what final thoughts do you have?
I don't really have final thoughts because I'm really tired. I guess I had fun. It was fun.
Good. You're gonna you got any advice for the folks out there on how to escape toxic parents?
As hard
What's
as it is,
what's your
as
answer
hard
to
as it,
save the world?
oh gosh, we can't. Can't really save the world. I think, but I think if we were to save the world, everyone would have to face the their challenges, would have to face their trauma, and if everyone were to look within themselves and make a change in a positive way, that would be a way to change the world. But that's never going to happen. So the only thing I would say is if, just take care of yourself and don't be afraid to confront people don't be afraid to set boundaries and stay true to them, because when you do that, you're growing as a person, you're healing as a person, and you're bringing in people that, like Sunkiss said, that you vibe with.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. And as always, folks that are out there listening, we're not going to solve the problems of the world, no matter how much we joke about it. And everything that we address or talk about, especially with these, you know, more complex and darker topics, we're just doing it to bring awareness. We're just doing it to share our anecdotal stories and provide everybody with a little bit of perspective. Sometimes people don't have that view outside the 4 walls that they live in, and just hearing it from other people is the spark you need to move forward. So I hope that that I fulfilled that intention in some way, shape, or form. Actually, with any time I go live or put a podcast out there. So thank you very much, V, for coming out. Thank you,
Cheers.
Killer Swag, Sun Kiss, Mona D, Gail. Trying to think if there's anybody else. Oh, Jawad, and of course Trilla. Thank you everybody for coming out, doing the shout outs and celebrating with us on this wonderful discussion. Like and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to stop by Spotify if you're in the podcast and that's your thing. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify while you're working out. Otherwise, everyone have a wonderful evening. And thank you again, V.
No problem. Thanks, guys.